of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months, $100 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FREE.
All right, happy Wednesday. Welcome in. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We all know Hall of Fame voters are petty, but it's always good when you catch them being petty, by the way. How petty is this exact voter? And I said Hall of Fame voter, but any voter in anything, whether it be the Baseball Hall of Fame. Really, when we talk about ethics in Hall of Fame voting or All-Star voting or just MVP voting in general, look, we're dealing with human beings here. Human beings have feelings. They have emotions. I hate when people say, well, you got to try to be as objective as possible. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist in our legal justice system. It doesn't exist anywhere. But you kind of got to find a balance. You kind of got to find a happy medium of trying to find a way to not let your personal feelings get in the way. Although I do think it's impossible. I really, really do. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell am I talking about? Because there's a horrible start to a show where I don't even set the stage at all. Kev, how are you, by the way?
I'm good. This is my first Wednesday working.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not used to you here on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I went right into the top. I mean, apparently I'm excited for this topic. I went right into the topic. I didn't even set up the show.
My first Wednesday working since September. Like, I've been off every Wednesday since October started, man. So this is weird.
If you and I can make it to Friday, this would be the first full week that we have worked in quite some time, at least show-wise, because work never stops. I mean, come on.
New year, new me.
Excited for today's show. We're going to open up talking about a particular a voter who has a guy who has an MVP vote who is letting a player's view on vaccination dictate whether he gets his vote or not. And I think it's wrong. And considering where you guys know how Kev and I feel about the vaccine itself, that just speaks for itself right there about how wrong I think it is to use that as a determination of whether or not you're going to vote for someone for MVP. We'll open up with that here in just a second. It does involve Tom Brady. It does involve Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about that here momentarily. ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz was supposed to join us on yesterday's show, but he was doing fill-in duty on Mike Golick Jr.'s show yesterday, filling in with Mike Golick Jr. yesterday. So he was off yesterday. He'll be back on with us today coming up at 4:30. We'll talk Browns. We'll talk Bengals. We'll talk Buckeyes. We'll talk college football national championship. We'll talk about it all. Bengals, as we thought, we'll be resting a lot of guys this coming up weekend. Some of it was involuntary, some of it voluntary. Some of it was the coach's decision. Some of it was Rona's decision. That's kind of where we are at right now, but nonetheless. But 518-1410, that is the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. I want to open up today's show with something that really started making its rounds on social media yesterday. Hub Arkush, if I'm saying his name correctly, has an MVP vote for the NFL. And right now, if you start having the debate of who should be the MVP, it's Aaron Rodgers or it's Tom Brady. You could throw in, if Derrick Henry's healthy, I think his name is in the mix, but we all know that running backs don't get it. You could even put Jonathan Taylor's name in the mix if you want to put a running back in there. But Hub Arkush made a visit on Parkins and Spiegel on 670 The Score. Is this what station? Where is this out of, Kev? Is this Nashville?
I believe it is. I thought it was Chicago.
So it is Chicago. I remember. Okay, so out of Chicago, 670 the Score, 670 The Score in Chicago. Parkins and Spiegel is the name of the show, and they had on Hub Arkush to talk about the MVP race in the National Football League. And Hub, I've never heard of him before. I'm not doing this thing where I'm going to take shots at him. I don't know anything about him. I disagree with his stance on how he is approaching this. But take a listen. He was asked about, there was just a general conversation about the MVP between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. And then Hub made some comments that really kind of got the host's attention. Like, wait a minute, what? You got to repeat yourself? They started asking the right questions. And like any good host, they got the answer they needed because it went viral and everyone has been talking about it all day. But again, NFL MVP voter right here, Hub Arkush on 670 The Score in Chicago with Parkins and Spiegel. Take a listen.
Are off-field things like vaccination status supposed to factor in, or are there no guidelines for that?
There's no guidelines. We are told to pick the guy who we think is the most valuable to his team. I don't think it says anywhere, strictly on the field. Although I do think he hurt his team on the field, by the way he acted off the field. They're going to get the number one seed anyway, but what if the difference had come down to the Chiefs game, where he lied about being vaccinated and ended up not playing and they got beat. So I think all these things should be considerations. That's the way I look at it. He ruined the entire offseason for that football team. They were left in jeopardy. They had no idea what they were doing. A lot of the off the field stuff was wasted because he wasn't there. He tortured his fan base, and he's getting ready. He's already started doing it again.
Oh, so he couldn't have won the MVP before the season for you?
For me, no. Yeah, no. I just think that the way he's carried himself is inappropriate, and the vaccine thing just was one more, log on the fire, so to speak. I think he's a bad guy, and I don't think a bad guy can be the most valuable guy at the same time.
I've always joked about the Baseball Hall of Fame that it's more difficult to get into baseball's Hall of Fame than it is into heaven based on all the the moral clause that exists. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not that outraged by what he had to say. I'm only outraged by the vaccination comment. I thought that was wrong. I think that is a very weird, that is letting political views and letting very controversial views get in the way of taking an award from somebody, that the award is supposed to be dictated for what you do for your team on the field. And yes, technically off the field, but I'm not going to let a vaccine be an off the field issue that I would hold you accountable for. However, look at the Antonio Brown situation in Tampa. If that was a quarterback that had lied about his vaccination status that ended up having to miss games because he was being punished for lying, that is different. Right. I'd be perfectly fine with the voters saying, you know what? You lied about your vaccination status, which ultimately led to you missing games, which your team lost some key games in that stretch. I'm not voting for you for that very reason right there, even if your numbers are justifiable. That I could get on board with. I know that's not the situation here, but to use that, I'm going to defend this hub guide to a certain extent. His reasoning isn't all that bad. People took this long clip and they took a 10-second portion of it about the vaccination stuff and they made it about that. He had way more reasons why he wasn't going to vote for him for the MVP than it had to do with the vaccination thing. But again, when you say the word vaccine anymore, that's a hot button. That you say vaccine, ears are going up. All right. Everyone perks up. They sit up in their seat because it doesn't matter what your opinion on the vaccine is. It is going to generate a response. If you are for the vaccine, you have this annoying liberal agenda that you're pushing on people. If you're against the vaccine, you're for death in this country. I mean, there's no in between. There's no middle ground, right? Like, it's very extreme. You get the vaccine, you're pushing your liberal agenda. If you don't get the vaccine, you're why everyone's dying in this country. There is no middle ground. Right or wrong, that's the reality of it. Perception is reality. Who cares what real reality actually is? So with this, in typical our society fashion, they took something small from this long clip and made it about the vaccine, when really what he does not want to vote for him for, I actually agree 1,000,000%. I get that players have the right to fight for contracts, but it got real petty in the offseason. It got to the point to where he wasn't even – it's one thing if you're having – negotiation disputes. But to have a negotiation, you have to have a conversation. And there was one side of the party that refused to have conversations. He refused to do any off-season workouts. I understand a rider's approach to that, not wanting to vote for him for that matter. But the vaccine thing, I think that's wrong. I don't care if you think he should have the vaccine or not. I don't think that is a legitimate reason or should be a tolerable reason to allow you not to vote for somebody and for him to say it. But you know what? The best things in our job come from people who are unfiltered, and he was unfiltered and he was honest. I'm not going to beat this guy up more than everybody else. I think it's wrong to use the vaccine status of Aaron Rodgers against him, but everything else he had to say, I'm not going to lose sleep over whether he gets the vote or not. But at the end of the day, I think it's more justifiable for everything else he said. But the vaccine thing, I think, is wrong.
he is a voter for this, and he's been in this industry way longer than you and I have. The thing that I took away from it the most was he's a bad guy. He's a jerk. The reason those perked up to me is because there's plenty of bad guys or jerks that are in the Hall of Fame. Name your sport, from the NBA to the NFL to Major League Baseball. I don't think that has anything to do with how he plays on the field. I think Aaron Rodgers is a jerk too, but I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. I personally can't stand some of the things that John Elway stands for in his personal life. But if I had one quarterback outside of Tom Brady to win me a game, I'm picking John Elway. I can separate the two. And that's where athletes and people in general get annoyed with the media, when they allow their personal feelings about a person, how they are, to affect what they're going to do and how they are playing on the field of play. We can talk about T.O. T.O. had issues with the media, the whole push-ups in the parking lot, the whole beef with Donovan McNabb and everything like that. He was held out of the Hall of Fame as a punishment because, he was mean to us. Well, everything about his career says he's a Hall of Fame player, but you, as the media, you hold the right, I guess, to punish him and say he's not worthy of getting into our Hall of Fame. We're going to make him wait. The same thing happens in Major League Baseball. Nobody's ever been 100% voter into the Hall of Fame, so we're going to make sure that never happens. Like, that's bogus. Like, this whole thing with the Heisman Trophy. Like, all right, Archie is the only two-time Heisman Trophy winner. We're going to make sure that there's never a two-time Heisman Trophy winner. Like, get off of that, man. That is, you're hijacking stuff. You're holding it to yourself.
I was mad about Lamar's last year at Louisville because he made it easy not to vote for me. He had a very good year, but it wasn't Heisman worthy. But man, I was really pulling for him to have another year.
Team didn't have the season.
That's true.
His actual numbers were better than his was as a sophomore, but the team success wasn't there. And that's
I wanted to see them be put on the spot. I wanted them to take the Heisman from. You know what I mean. I wanted them to be put on the spot to take it from him, to be the bad guys, because you're right. I do feel like, you have Bryce Young coming back next year. That's it. He has a good chance of winning the Heisman. CJ Stroud and him are neck and neck. Watch Stroud get the edge next year, regardless of whether they beat Michigan or not in the final week, because you're right. These voters hold on to this. They
is a
come
God complex.
I don't like it. I agree with you. I think it's wrong. I don't know what the alternative is, because I think players would be a horrible route to go, because their biases, I heard Keyshawn this morning talk about it, and I never thought of it. I've always been against writers having votes, and that the players should dictate it. But he brought up a good point. He goes, no, athletes are the most pettiest people out there. They're pettier than anything. Players would purposely, because of jealousy for another athlete, not vote for that individual. So that's what I find interesting. But I cut you off. Continue. But yes, I agree with you 100%. These unwritten rules amongst voters of
I missed the Keyshawn thing. He thinks athletes are pettier than sports writers.
He said everyone's petty, but that the athletes themselves, that they would hold it against that they would, if let's say that if players got to vote for the Hall of Fame this year. There'll be players that don't like Aaron Rodgers, and they'll strictly just not vote for Aaron Rodgers because they don't like Aaron Rodgers. Or Tom Brady, it's jealousy of Tom Brady, so we're not going to vote for Tom Brady because, it's Tom Brady. So they were just debating about what the right approach is, and that you can't go the player route completely, because players have just as many biases as writers do. But the thing is, there is not a bulletproof approach to this. There's no such thing. Like, I hate when people say, you got to make sure you're as objective as, you got to be objective. I don't think that actually exists. I think you can try, but I still think even in the midst of trying to be objective, you become objective, because now you're trying to be something that you're not. I don't know what the right answer is, but I this is a strange situation.
I appreciate his honesty.
Yeah, listen to the way he talks. It's not like Kenner when I know I have a take that's going to piss people off, I'll crack this mic and I have a little extra behind it. I respect his approach to this, because he's just very cool, calm, and collected. Like, he explains it. He has he has an explanation for why he believes the way he does. He had clear-cut examples of why he was not going to vote for him. The only thing I didn't like is when he said he's not a good guy. Yeah. I don't know if that's fair. That's a personal attack.
Yeah.
How do we know if he's a good guy or not? I don't like his smug personality, but is he a good guy? I don't know. I can't paint him that way. That's what I had a problem with.
I can't, I don't think you can, just because somebody, just say for argument's sake that everybody in the world agrees that Aaron Rodgers is a jerk. Everybody brings up the situations that he had with his parents and money and all these types of things that go on in his personal life. And we determine as the world, Aaron Rodgers is a jerk. So what? He can throw the football. He makes great decisions with the football. He wins a ton of games. He throws for a ton of yards. He makes his teammates better. He showed up to Arizona on a Thursday night on a short week and won a game with me and you playing wide receiver. Sounds like the MVP to me. Like Lawrence Taylor, drug issues, alleged issues, beating women and things of that nature, still in the Hall of Fame. Like
Jim Brown.
Like you name your guy. There's one in the NFL, there's one in the NBA. Look, man, these type of things go on, but I don't think that you can hold that against them for what they do on the field of play, because this is about. This is what happens between the white lines on the field. Like that's what this is about. This is the NFL MVP, not the life MVP, not the world MVP. It's what happens on the field. So, like, that's where I disagree with him. And he also brought up, yes, no doubt about it. There's no question. He made the GM and the fans' lives a living hell over the summer. No doubt about it. Showed up week 1, they got their doors blown off. And since then,
switch was flipped right.
They've been balling. And outside of the game that he missed because of the COVID situation, they've been balling. So he came up with the what if scenario if it came down to Kansas City game. Well, guess what? It didn't, because they won all the other games. So, like, that's my rebuttal to that. That would be my rebuttal to that. Like, what does it matter, man? I mean, he showed and proved again, time in, time again, man. So, like I said before, I appreciate his honesty. I just disagree.
518-1410, 518-1410. If you're just joining us, there was a reporter. He has an NFL MVP vote, and he was on a show, Parkins and Spiegel. It's on 670 The Score in Chicago. And they were asking him about his thoughts on the MVP race. You know, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. It's really kind of neck and neck between those two. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for who the MVP is. Both are, you know, older quarterbacks that are towards the back end of their careers and still playing at the highest level over anyone else in the NFL right now. And you talk about all the youth movement of the NFL. All the great quarterbacks, the Joe Burrows, the Justin Herberts, you know, you look across the board, the Patrick Mahomes, but we're still talking about the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers of the world. That's how dominant these two have been, because those young QBs are dominant. But so that's where the conversation started. Was asked about Aaron Rodgers, and you're not allowed to reveal who you're going to vote for, but he basically announced who he wasn't going to vote for. We'll get to your calls, but take a listen one more time for those who are late to the conversation. Here's a shorter version of the clip.
I think all these things should be considerations. That's the way I look at it. He ruined the entire offseason for that football team. They were left in jeopardy. They had no idea what they were doing. A lot of the off-the-field stuff was wasted because he wasn't there. He tortured his fan base, and he's getting ready. He's already started doing it again.
Oh, so he couldn't have won the MVP before the season for you?
For me, no. Yeah, no. I just think that the way he's carried himself is inappropriate, and you know, the vaccine thing just was one more, you know, log on the fire, so to speak. I think he's a bad guy, you know, and I don't think a bad guy can be the most valuable guy at the same time.
Bad guy. Give me a break. He's not a bad guy, guys. And you know this. You know I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy. I've always been anti-Aaron Rodgers. I don't like him either. He drives me crazy. But guess what? You know who also I don't like? I got to find a new phrase I don't like. Like, Joe Burrow drives me crazy. I've never said he's a bad dude. I've never said anything personal about. He just drives me crazy. I drive a lot of you crazy. You guys don't know me. I don't know them. Aaron Rodgers, we don't know what he does in his spare time. We don't know all the great, you know, we don't need him telling us all the great things he does and all this. But if we're going to base it off these smug interviews he does with Pat McAfee, and let's not act like, for those of you who are familiar with the sports media landscape, those Pat McAfee interviews that he does, that is a weekly middle finger to every media outlet out there, because he literally is so candid and so open with Pat McAfee in ways that it literally, he feeds Pat everything. He gives, and Pat is my all-time favorite. There's no one out there I love more than Pat McAfee. And he gets a lot out of Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers controls his narrative.
Yes,
that's why people hate Kevin Durant, by the way, too. That's why a lot of these athletes have started their own little podcasts off to the side. People get mad, like, oh, they need to be focusing on winning. They need to be focusing on playing. Well, what they're tired of doing is these interviews and these post games. That's why Russell Westbrook constantly, he's on his phone and these like he's up there so he doesn't get fined. It's because they contractually have to be. The reason you see LeBron and Draymond Green Green, who's with Colin Cowherd's podcast network, which is pretty cool. He don't even like Colin Cowherd. He's called Colin out many times, but he's on Colin Cowherd's podcast network. Kevin Durant, LeBron was at the shop. These athletes are doing these side projects like this because that's their time. They control the narrative. They control the conversation. They're not being tricked into answering a question that has ulterior motives with it. So that's why a lot of these athletes that take that power into their own hands, that's why a lot of media criticizes these guys, is because they feel slighted. To me, it's weird to have a personal vendetta against somebody. For instance, if I had an MVP vote, I talk a lot of smack on this show about Joe Burrow. At the end of the day, the season just wrapped up, technically the regular season. I gave him his flowers. I know that he's good. I know that the Bengals are good. We have fun on this show, but I know I would never, if I had an MVP vote, say, well, I know he's good, but I hate Joe Burrow, so I'm not going to vote for him. That's in essence what this guy is doing.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I have. Like, I was with him until the very end. I had more of a problem saying he was a bad guy than I did with him saying he wasn't going to vote for him because of vaccination status. And I think both are wrong, but I thought him saying he was a bad guy with no substance, that was messed up.
I agree 100%. Like, the whole vax talk, I mean, just because you got to think about it like this. Even though you and I think people should get vaccinated, there's a ton of people that don't want to get vaccinated. So what about all those people? You know what I mean? So he's speaking their language. That makes him a jerk. That makes him a bad guy. I can't go that far to say that. And just because, say, for instance, he was. I don't care. He throws the ball, throws touchdowns, wins games. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, I could care less. I could really care less, because think about it like this. Every person out there that thinks Aaron Rodgers is a jerk, would you want him as your quarterback? Probably, unless you got Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Like, so which is it? Which is it, man? I can't get down with that. And you brought up a great point about athletes now creating their narrative. Well, this has been going on a long time. Like, go back to the 90s with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan did do every single interview request. He did his interviews after the games. But if you needed a sit-down interview with Michael Jordan, Ahmad Rashad, that's the only person that he was doing interviews with, sit-down interviews with. Like, that was how they did it then.
And his reasoning was really cool, too, because he said there was no African-American media members that were getting the spotlight. So Ahmad Rashad was one of the first African-American media members that was getting those big, high-profile sit-down interview opportunities. And that, when people say MJ didn't take a stance on a lot of social issues and all that, they may not be a huge social stance in the eyes of most, but those are the little things that Michael made sure of, that he was going to give opportunities to the right people and not just the people that were presented in front of him. But I'm glad I forgot all about that. But yeah, Ahmad Rashad's one of the first people I remember that got these exclusive interview opportunities. People get mad at LeBron James, like the Rachel Nichols thing that broke last year, and the beef that broke out between her and what was the other female, not Carrie Champion,
Maria Taylor.
And then you have Nichols come out saying LeBron tried to get me fired, or whoever. Oh, Michelle Beadle. I'm sorry. Michelle Beadle said LeBron tried to get her fired. Well, you know what? These athletes have more power than ever. And these networks know it. And these players know it. And these networks are now bowing down to the player, because ESPN, guess who they want? They want access to LeBron. And if LeBron says, hey, I'll give you any interview you want, but I'm not doing that with Rachel Nichols or with Michelle Beadle. I like Rachel Nichols. Why do you think Rachel Nichols is there? A good friend of mine, Allie Clifton, super talented. I'm not saying she's only there because of LeBron, but she's part of LeBron's inner circle. When she was the sideline reporter for the Cleveland Cavaliers, she was in LeBron's circle. So when he bolted to LA, not even a month later, Allie had announced that she has accepted a job as the Lakers studio host. Why? Because LeBron's going to give access to people he trusts. In media, we suck. There's way too many evil media members out there that are looking to bring you down more than to prop you up. So LeBron's not a power-hungry dude for trying to control the narrative. There's way more bad clips about LeBron than there are good. And that's why he's trying to control his narrative. Aaron Rodgers is doing the same thing right now. I have no problem with it. As much as Aaron Rodgers drives me crazy, I love that aspect, watching how media is changing with the access to the players.
Access is king, because that's what we want as viewers. We want to know about these guys. We want to know what they're thinking. We want to know how they train. Like, LeBron used to have a YouTube series where he just was working out. Like, billions of views and everything like that, or a day in a life and everything like that. All this access, and access is king. That's why you have a Kevin Durant with his boardroom stuff with ESPN. Like, there's this partnerships and people want access to these guys, but you can't have access without a good relationship. And when you have the media, well, some media that is combative constantly, take Skip Bayless, for instance.
Me. I'm not high profile media, but I'm a combative. I don't look at myself as the level you're talking about, but we all know my style is abrasive, and it's not always welcome for some people. That's why certain coaches in town won't come on the show. And that's not a shot. I don't blame them. Why would Anthony Grant want to come on here when I'm constantly taking shots at the program? Why would he want to? People act like that's a shot at me. No, it's the reality of it, and it's the bet I made. So it is what it is. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just.
But yeah, I mean, but you deal with it. You deal with it. You understand it. Like, okay, well, if I'm gonna say that and he's not gonna do that, then it is what it is, and that's perfectly fine. But as far as like media personalities, because that's what it is now. It's a media personality. Before, you had talk radio and sports talk radio. And then I'm not even sure when it happened. These talk media hosts got on TV, and then there was an explosion. And now there's a reaction to everything that an athlete does. The way he ties his shoes, the way he chooses bubblegum. I mean, I remember when Skip Bayless was talking about what LeBron was wearing to the game. Like, I could care less about any of that. So my whole thing about some of these media guys is they have a stance and they refuse to back off their stance sometimes. Like, no matter what happens, no matter how good they play, no matter what occurs on the court or on the field of play, no matter how many injuries a team has, no matter how many touchdowns he throws for, if he's on the last drive of the game and he throws a short sticks, he's a bum. Like, me personally, I just can't understand that and can't get behind that. And for media people, sometimes they have, well, I like to call maybe a God complex, to say, I'm not going to vote for this person to go to the MLB Hall of Fame just to make sure they don't get 100% of the vote. Like, come on, man. Like, Mariano Rivera didn't get 100% of the vote. Jeter. Are you serious? Jeter, are you serious? And I can't stand the Yankees. Mm-hmm. I am a Cleveland Guardians fan. I can't stand the Yankees. But come on, man. Come on. Are you serious?
It's the same tired arguments about Barry Bonds, too. I always get bored with the Barry Bonds conversation, but I still think it's absolutely wrong. And the best argument about that I hear every year, I know people are tired of hearing the same arguments, but as long as the home runs are still historically counted, as long as hits are still historically counted, as long as these records are still being used to prop up a Hall of Fame or being used to prop up a history in a record book, then baseball can't use those records to use as these cool graphics during games to, show the significance of chasing history. Well, what happens if someone ever does get to Barry Bonds' level? How hypocritical baseball is going to look? The chase for history, the chase for Hank Aaron, the chase for Barry Bonds. If it gets to that point, watch how much they prop up Barry Bonds' record. But he won't be in the Hall of Fame because why? Because he cheated for those home runs. Those same home runs that baseball is using to create these storylines to sell their product. I think it's wrong. Same thing with Pete Rose's stuff, all in the Hall of Fame. When he has to get special permission just to go to Great American Ballpark. He was at a few games this past year. The Reds have to get permission from baseball to have him at the ballpark. But they have no problem having his stuff plastered all over the Hall of Fame. Now, I know baseball Hall of Fame, Major League Baseball are kind of separated a bit, but it still irritates me. So this is kind of branched off into some outside conversations, but this overall conversation started with this writer over in Chicago that has an NFL, or not Hall of Fame vote, MVP vote. Lamar Shelley says, if this guy is from Chicago, does the fact that Aaron Rodgers owns Chicago have something to do with this? Lamar, good for you. But that speaks to my point earlier. Like, these guys are told you got to be objective. I don't think you can. For me, I do a show in Dayton, Ohio, an hour from Cincinnati. I'm a Browns fan. I know what's probably best for business is just to tell these clowns that, oh, your team's great, even when they're not. They're great now, which is why I'm telling you they're great. So I'm being consistent and fair. But I can't, Kev, because when I tried to do the homerism thing, when I first started in radio, I was like, well, I'm just going to, all right, Bengals fans, a lot of Bengals fans. I'm just going to tell everyone how great the Bengals are. And I couldn't get into it. I wasn't genuine with it. I wasn't, and people could see right through it. That's why when I try to talk Dayton Flyers, people are like, will you please stop? You know, you don't mean that. Will you please stop? You know, you don't. And I'm like, for one, I don't dislike the program, but like you could tell. All right, you could just tell that I'm saying this so I stay on people's good side, and I just can't do it. But the bottom line is the reason I can't do it, you cannot force yourself to be genuine on something.
Right.
So I have a hard – Lamar brings up one kick-ass point that, yes, that this writer being from Chicago probably does have a lot to do with the disdain for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
Who is your top 3 for the MVP?
I don't know who my third is. I think it's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. I can't, if the Bengals had, if Joe Burrow didn't lead the league and if he hadn't thrown so many interceptions, I would have had him up there. I don't know if he's third on my list, though. I have no problem with Burrow getting MVP conversations. I mean, he had a magnificent year, but I don't think Joe Burrow played great all year. Joe Burrow, we are falling in love with Joe Burrow over this last month, but the MVP is supposed to be for the full season.
Right.
Who would you have third? I want to say a running back, but I know that that's not normal.
Well, for me, it is Aaron Rodgers, Jonathan Taylor 2, Brady 3, and Brady is probably going to fall. Maybe not fall. But for me, it is Rodgers, Taylor, Brady, and then fourth will be Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is an amazing wide receiver.
What's your justification for those? Only because I'm not as simplistic. Because
Carson Wentz stinks.
I'm not a simplistic guy saying. I'm not a simplistic guy saying that. Well, because Tom Brady's numbers are better than Aaron Rodgers
right.
in every facet. So, I guess that's where I'm at with that. Is like
I would say, but
that's too simplistic to say his numbers are better, but his numbers are better.
My reason mainly because of that Thursday night game. Like if like the runner goes, tie goes to the runner, I'm giving it to Aaron Rodgers because of that Thursday night game. I always, if I was a gambling person, I would never bet on the road team on the Thursday night game. But somehow he went on the road. And you got to remember also, Arizona was undefeated at the time at home. And they had me and you playing wide receiver. And just like he always does, he makes no names catch 100 yards somehow, some way. Throws them open is.
See, that's why I couldn't do Joe Burrow right there. Because I think having Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Boyd. See, but then it sounds like I'm taking a shot at him. Like I'm holding that talent against him.
I mean, would he be in your top 5? Would Joey B be in your top 5?
Joe Burrow's in my top 5. Happy people? Damn, y'all hear what you want to hear. Like, people, by the way, I told you this earlier. Bengals fans are so pissed that I've started being nice now that they're having to go back to tweets from like days and weeks ago. They're like, I'll be minding my own business, and all of a sudden my phone's blowing up because they had to go back to a tweet from 2 or 3 weeks ago to use to get an argument going with me. And I'm like, it is what, so, you know, it is what it is.
What about
be in my top 5?
What about Jonathan Taylor?
I'm just one of them running back snobs, and I don't know why. Don't tell buyers.
He's got 1,800 yards rushing, yo.
And they play like Derrick Henry would probably be ahead of him.
Probably Derrick Henry,
healthy,
yeah, for sure.
That sounds, yeah.
And I believe they started 0-4, if I'm not mistaken. The Colts started 0-4.
I think 1-3. They got a. Was it 0-4?
I thought they were started 0-4,
but
I could be way off. But let me double check. Either way, when they stopped passing or trying to pass the ball and started handing the ball off, they started winning. Yeah, they lost to the Seahawks, lost to the Rams, lost to the Titans, then beat the Dolphins. So they started 1-4, and then
the Browns started 3-1. We all know how that went. All right, guys, 518-1410. I could be easily persuaded. I don't think Burrow, 0% chance he wins MVP, but tell me why he should be in my top 3. I'm easily persuasive. Wait, what? I could persuade what?
You can be easily persuaded.
Persuade. Yeah. You ever go to say something, you realize, oh crap, I don't know how to position that. Like that's exactly what just happened there. I could be easily persuaded regarding Joe Burrow. I'm not a Joe Burrow fan, but I can't deny the greatness of Joey B, especially over this last month. I don't think he's been great all season, but I am curious Bengals fans' thoughts on where Joey B deserves to fall when it comes to the MVP conversation. There's no way in hell I'm putting him above Brady and Aaron Rodgers. I can't put him above Jonathan Taylor either. But maybe at 4, 5. I mean, where's he at? Convince me. 518-1410. You want to jump in on this conversation? Shaw, I see he's on hold. Shaw, it's been a while since I've hung up on you, but new year, new me. Shaw, be patient. I know we have a couple other you guys on hold. We'll get to you on the other side. We're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, like and follow along. Let's continue this streak of new year, new me. Kinner's been on his best behavior. I don't know if that's good or bad for the show. We'll find out. But you guys dictate that. If we start losing listeners because Kinner started being nice, I'm going right back to the old me. I'm just warning you right now. So you dictate where this goes. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Yes, Miss Tubbs. No problem. I'll call someone about the plumbing.
One of Beatrice's properties needs a new superintendent.
Custodial team is not
Someone with handyman superpowers and a concierge alter ego.
Does anyone know any good electricians near Parkville?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Tomorrow.
This new year, let's resolve to deliver on the promise of a great public education for all of Ohio's kids. Our children should be free to learn and dream big for themselves. And we must provide the opportunities for them to tackle the tough topics so they can lead the way for a better future for all of us.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
KTH Parts Industries has immediate openings for second and third shift production associates and equipment technicians. KTH promotes from within, offers an attractive benefit package including medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage starting at $19 per hour with annual increases and shift differential. KTH will be hosting walk-in interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Please bring a resume and photo ID to apply or see other career opportunities at kth.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
Fed up with companies selling your data? DuckDuckGo is on it. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Football fans, the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show is officially back. Every Sunday morning starting at 11:30 a.m., College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and Justin Kinner will be live at Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. The guys will recap the biggest games from college football Saturday, including your Ohio State Buckeyes. The guys will also get you set up for the day's biggest NFL matchups, featuring your Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, and more. It's the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show, live from Frickers on 741, Sunday mornings at 11:30 on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
The graphics are so real on this video game console I bought with the savings from switching to Progressive 10 years ago. I can't tell what's real and what's the game, which I think is what people want, in the future, which it is currently.
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Millions of people use Zoom Phone, the innovative and feature-rich cloud phone system for businesses of any size. Zoom Phone is simple to use, whether you're on a mobile device, desktop, laptop, or desk phone. And because every call is important to your business, Zoom Phone was built with reliability in mind, using geographic redundancy to keep your communications online. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Visit zoom.com/phone system. Zoom, how the world connects.
Research shows that people remember radio ads with lots of sound effects. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here are some zany sounds. Saving on home insurance is no laughing matter. Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need. The money you save could change your life. It's time for you to take your insurance choice seriously. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. O'Reilly.
Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car. Like 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil, just $31.95. Plus, get a $10 O'Reilly gift card with your purchase. Extend the life of your vehicle and improve performance with a synthetic oil change. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Ready for a chicken sandwich that's a kick above the rest? Then Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken has just what you're looking for, with a spicy chicken sandwich combo at a great price. The kick you crave is here with a premium all-white meat chicken breast that's spicy marinated and hand-breaded with a kick. Served with creamy chipotle ranch all on a brioche bun, it's the chicken sandwich others aspire to be. Get the chicken sandwich perfected with the spicy chicken sandwich combo at a great price. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight guaranteed. Only $49.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late day eating binges, boredom eating, and stress eating. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick seminars. Thursday, January 13th at the Holiday Inn in Fairborn. Weight loss 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking 8 to 10 p.m. And Saturday, January 15th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Dayton. Weight loss 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stop smoking 2 to 4 p.m. Registration begins 30 minutes before seminar.
Fed up with companies selling your data? DuckDuckGo is on it. They help millions of people like you take back their privacy online. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. And, of course, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, give Brad Mays a call today, 937-572-7425. That's the number to call and jump in. Jump in on the conversation. I'll give you that number to jump into the conversation in a moment. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, give Brad a call today at 937-572-7425. 2-5. College basketball. It's been a while since the Dayton Flyers have been out on the hardwood, and they're going to be on the hardwood coming up later on this evening. Talk about that coming up around the corner. Talking Out Loud with Sully coming up on Thursday night. Also, Ohio State basketball Thursday night. Wright State will be in action tomorrow. So much college basketball to get into. The problem is with college basketball, Kev, is right now everything is just wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a mess right now in college basketball. I don't know how you can continue down this path. Like, either, I know this sounds not going to sound good, but you either got to stop canceling games and you got to adjust the protocols the way every other sport has, or you got to stop playing games altogether, because this isn't working. Like, having teams have 3 weeks between games because of this is not okay. And to be honest, to continue down this path, and then I'm going to be very ticked off if all of a sudden they adapt the rules come March because the big money tournament, that's the stuff I'm getting tired of, is that Ohio State just announced yesterday that they've gotten rid of all concessions at live sporting events. Mm-hmm. So if you go to the Shot to watch Ohio State basketball, you are not going to be allowed to get nachos. You're not going to be allowed to get a drink, a beer, a beverage, nothing.
No soft pretzels.
Because, like, at this point, if it's too dangerous to buy a pretzel, then cancel these games altogether. And by the way, just to be clear, people, I'm not like super crazy here. I'm not really advocating to cancel all these games. But what I am advocating for is stop with these stupid policies of, to remain safe, we're going to get rid of pretzels and nachos. No, that doesn't make any sense. Now, what they're doing is because people have taken advantage of the whole notion that, you have to keep a mask on indoors at all times unless you're eating or drinking. Well, people are smart. They went and buy their beer, and they hold on to that damn beer the entire game. or they have the nachos in their lap their entire game, or their bottled water in their lap, their $7-9 bottled water in their lap the entire game. And basically what you have bought, what you have purchased with that $9 bottle of water is a free ticket to not wear a mask indoors.
Right.
So to combat that, what they're doing is rather than have the mask police go up and down these rows and get into an argument with every single person in the arena, now it's like, well, now we're just going to take the food away from you. Now you have no excuse to not have that mask on. But at the same time, I get why people are getting frustrated. It's no longer about people are sick and tired of the virus. They're sick and tired of these protocols being put in place that don't make any dang sense. It's okay to go into one gigantic 20,000 fan petri dish to sit shoulder to shoulder to watch the Buckeyes, but damn it, you put a pretzel in your hand. Now the virus just became more contagious. Give me a break. Enough of this. Stop. And the canceling of games left and right. And it's like a double-edged sword, because I'm not saying it doesn't matter that these athletes are getting sick or people within the program are getting sick. But at the same time, if the NFL and all these other sports have adapted the policy, asymptomatic, symptomatic, vaccinated, non-vaccinated, why can't college do the same thing?
Why can't all conferences do it? Because I know the ACC has made adjustments to theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I think the SEC did last week, but it's like we always talk about with college sports. There's no uniformity. Each conference has their own rules that they go by. But like you talked about, once it comes conference tournament time and they got to get these games on TV, on ESPN and Fox Sports to get the check, they're going to make adjustments. They're going to figure something out. They're going to get those games played. And then you already know when the big tournament comes, they're going to have teams on standby. They're going to have JUCOs on standby to fill them seats.
Well, I mean, it's like every day. I just talked to somebody from Wright State's, athletic department today. And based on the fact that they've technically already faced their outbreak a little bit, I mean, there's still athletes that everyone can get it still. But as far as the big spread that can knock them out, I mean, they just every day they wake up and it's just one of those things where they're waiting to find out whether they even have a game or not. How can you mentally prepare to the highest extent? This isn't just right. This is everybody.
Right.
If you're Ohio State, if you're the Dayton Flyers, who are finally playing tonight, by the way, after a little hiatus, how do you prepare for a game that that any second the plug could be pulled? Even like if the plug isn't pulled till before tip off, on Monday that if you have a game Thursday, that the chances of that game happening are very slim. That impacts how you prepare throughout the week. And this goes back to, you can't control your mind. Your mind is going to go into places. It's not going to allow you to go to prepare to your fullest extent. You think coaches, when they're doing film and they're doing prep and everything like that they're doing it to their fullest extent? Because in the back of their head, they're like, it's really hard to get into this scouting. It's really hard to get into this coaching. It's really hard to getting into this playing and prepping. And no, I'm not making excuses. It's the reality of it. I feel bad for these athletes because I could tell you the only thing that got me through, well, I didn't play high level sports at all, but like practices suck. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that gets you through practices, the conditioning, the coaches just constantly on your ass, the everything, the lifting, the working out, the things that suck. The only thing that gets you through that is, okay, 2 more days till game day.
Yep.
Okay, we're a couple days from game day. Football players, okay, Monday, it's a light day after Sunday's game. And then, we kind of go hard Tuesday, Wednesday, and we lighten up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, is film, and then Sunday's kickoff. It's hard to mentally 100% commit to all of those things throughout the week, knowing that at any point it could be pulled. Now, you could easily say, well, everyone's going through that. And you're right, but that means everyone is facing these issues where they're not 100% committed to going this route. I don't know. It's still strange to me, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this. Stop canceling games. Every time I go to ESPN to check the scores, postponed, canceled. So at the very end, we're not going to have true conference champions at the end. What happens when you get to the conference tournaments? Is COVID all of a sudden going to magically disappear for 4 days for these money-making opportunities for these conference tournaments? All of a sudden, testing will kind of slow down, or we didn't get our test results back before the start of the tournament. In the NCAA tournament, Mark Emmert, I have no clue what he's doing, but I guarantee you he's silent right now. Can't see him anywhere. But the second that the tournament starts, he will be right there front and center. Oh, we've really thought that through the data. That's my favorite when people say, because there's enough data to fit both sides. If I'm anti-vax, if I'm anti-mask, if I'm anti-this, I can find enough data to support my cause or my case. And if I'm pro-mask, I'm pro-vaccine, I'm pro, take this, disease or this virus serious, there's enough data to support my stance. The problem is we're just yelling to yell. No one's going to change anyone's mind. It's like Browns-Bengals fans. I'm not going to convince you that injuries are why the Browns are bad, just like, you're not going to convince me that the Bengals are AFC North champs because the Ravens and Browns weren't injured all year. We're just screaming at one another. We're not going to change. That's what I love about debates. Has a debate ever caused someone to say, you know what, you're right?
No.
Never thought of it like that. No.
Very rarely.
It doesn't happen. People say, we got to have a healthy debate. There's no such thing as a healthy debate. We consider a healthy debate a debate that ends without yelling. That's what we consider a healthy debate. But a debate, you argue your side, I argue mine. We both internally say, wow, what an idiot. Then we move on with our day. That's what we do. So I'm sick of this when it was announced Ohio State, no drinks, no concessions at live sporting events. Why? Well, because it's too dangerous. Then cancel all the games. Oh, but why don't you just cancel? Oh, because tickets, money. Oh, okay.
And that's my whole thing. Like, if it's so dangerous, then let's limit the amount of people going in there, because they're not doing that. They filling it up if they can. You know what I'm saying? So it's a cluster.
518-1410, 518-1410. It is. It is what it is. Someone brought up a good point. So we're talking about that broadcast earlier that said that he wasn't going to vote for Aaron Rodgers because his stance on the vaccine, and he just thought he was a jerk. Someone in the comment section, I want to make sure. Okay, Greg Berkey, shout out to Greg. Greg says, along the same lines, interesting article on it's SanFranciscoGate.com. It's about Big Ben by Drew Magary and how he should not be celebrated. And I was waiting for this. So ESPN got criticized during the Browns-Bengals Monday night game. Browns Steelers. See, I just have Bengals on my mind. I think secretly I am a Bengals fan. Let's just be real. The ESPN Monday night crew, Louis Riddick and Levy and those guys, were all ripped because they just put Big Ben on this pedestal. They praised him. He's so great for football, so great for this. But they seem to leave out all of the demons in Big Ben's closet, all of this stuff. By the way, I'm not a Big Ben fan. I'm very well aware of his demons. But I think it's why there would be, I would criticize ESPN more if they made the broadcast about all of his demons as opposed to what he did. It's Monday Night Football. It's about his career on the field.
Right.
They did it correct. I had no problem with the Monday Night crew not wasting a second talking about the allegations and everything else, the stuff he settled out of court. Those are all factual things. I get that, but I'm fine with them not going down that route. Why would you? Why are people obsessed with wanting to make sure people are tore down and destroyed? Like, that's what's crazy. By the way, the only reason you're watching, if you had this big moral obligation to make sure that Big Ben pays for all of his issues in the past, why are you watching the game?
Right.
Why are you watching? You have no problem watching the game, but you want to watch the game to hear people tear him down. Doesn't make sense. Sorry, I'm on a rant right now. I just hate fake outrage. I hate that people pretend to have morals when it's suitable for them to have a hot take on something. Like, we all make. We can all make, not excuses, but I can make we all make exceptions. Let's just put it that way. I'm a Browns fan. I can't stand any guy that puts a hand on a woman, but you know what? I can make an exception for Kareem Hunt, apparently. Apparently, it doesn't bother me that much because I tune into the Browns every week.
Right.
Bengals fans, there's a lot of you that are against domestic violence, but you have no problem tuning into Joe Mixon every week. And no, I'm not making jokes about this. I know I'm walking a fine line here, but the point is we can all make an exception, rationalize things when we choose to. And the people that are mad at ESPN for not tearing Big Ben's name through the mud during that Monday night game, shame on you. What do you really? You thought that was the place to do that? Like, I just don't get people. Like when Kobe Bryant passed away with the helicopter crash, I can't believe how many media members came out and said, well, let's stop acting like Kobe was such a great guy. Do people seem to forget about the rape allegations and blah, blah, blah. I'm not giving a pass to that.
Right.
But that's not the time. That's not the time or place for that. And how many Kobe games did you watch before that helicopter crash? You had no problem with his past before because you were watching basketball, but when it wasn't suitable for you, you wanted to tear his name up. Big Ben, same thing. You watch the Monday Night Football game because it entertains you, but my goodness, now all of a sudden you're expecting the broadcasters to have this moral compass that you don't have. I can't stand fake outrage. Stop choosing to be outraged. There's outrage that is naturally caused that you can't help but be outraged, and then there's that being a P word and waking up one day trying to be pissed off about something, trying to tear someone down, trying to cancel somebody, trying to get their career ended. It's annoying. I hate people. People suck. The majority of people suck when it comes to this stuff. Sorry, Kev, take over before I get in trouble.
The Big Ben thing, the Kobe Bryant situation with Deshaun Watson, what he's eventually going to have to deal with. It all happens when retrospective of their lives or their career. Like ESPN, like when Michael Jordan finally retired, I remember that day very vividly. They had the game on ESPN, then they had this big montage of obviously his career, and they talked about the gambling. They talked about the alleged situations about him, rumors of why he really retired from the NBA the first time. Was it a gambling debt and everything like that? That's a part of the story, the part of the full story, but it's not the story. It's not the only part of their story. Yes, it deserves to be talked about, but like you said, there's a proper time and a place for it. Now, obviously, the alleged victims of these crimes would tell you different. And if those people are speaking up and, people, their family are speaking up, I have nothing bad to say about them, but people that go out here on these witch hunts constantly, like those are the people that I question, so that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, it's definitely something that's going to be with Big Ben until he's no longer with us. You know what I'm saying? And that is a part of his life story, but I don't necessarily believe that's a part of his football story. And then don't forget, he was suspended from the NFL for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know, like, that's a part of his life. I don't necessarily believe that's a part of his football journey, if that makes sense.
518-1410. Yeah, like how many golfers are obsessed with Tiger Woods? All right, how many people love Tiger Woods?
That's a good point.
Because people can rationalize it, they can compartmentalize it, and they just look at Tiger Woods, the golfer. You guys could pick, and you guys are okay with putting off to the side who he is as a person, but as a golfer, he provides you entertainment, so it's okay to tune in to watch him, right? Like it's always when it's convenient for you, but when it's not convenient for you, then you want this witch hunt to go down, and that stuff just drives me nuts. Stop being a bunch of hypocrites. 518-1410, hour number 1 in the books. We'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, we'll dive into this Kirk Herbstreit conversation about, well, he says football players today just don't love football as much as they used to. Well, can't you argue that coaches today don't love football the way that they used to as well? I'm usually pro-coach more than I am pro-player, but I think it's not always the player that dictates the perception of college athletics right now. We'll talk about that coming up in hour 2. Also in hour 2, ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. We'll hang out with him. We'll talk about the Bengals clinching the AFC North. Where do the Browns and Baker Mayfield go from here? I'm seeing reports that there's 2 teams that could potentially be a potential suitor for Baker Mayfield in 2022. Have we seen Baker play the last game in Cleveland? I bet Bengals fans hope so that we can finally beat Cleveland. I'm just saying. Give him a good chance this weekend. Just joking. Well, you do. Kind of. You have a lot of players out as well. It's a throwaway game. It's a bowl game. We'll be back in a moment.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy and very windy, a high near 40. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy and windy, a low around 16. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy and cold, a high around 24. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Propane, keeping utilities simple and families warm since 1952. See how and more at culletpropane.com.
Don't go through another year with that awful joint pain. Now there's an exciting new treatment available here using natural biologics, regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue in your joints. Hey, it's Keith Byers. I'm talking about QC Kinetics, now open here. QC Kinetics is a nation leader in non-surgical regeneration, highly concentrated natural biologics that can give you lasting relief. If you have pain in your knees, back, shoulders, hips, and you're tired of steroids, pain meds, and talk of major surgery, this is a treatment you've been hoping for. Call the medical professionals at QC Kinetics today for a free consultation. Learn about how natural biologics can be used to get you moving again, pain-free. Get a free second opinion at QC Kinetics. Do it now. And imagine life in 2022 without pain. Call QC Kinetics now, 937-936-0325. That number again is 937-936-0325.
With Early Paycheck, you can get your direct deposit up to 2 days earlier. That's another reason banking with Capital One is the easiest decision ever. Even easier than deciding to open the biggest birthday gift first.
Happy birthday to you.
Which one are you going to open first?
The pony.
Yep, even easier than that. Plus, with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is banking with Capital One even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. No fees or minimums on new consumer accounts. Capital One and a member FDIC.
I know you've been waiting a little bit longer than normal. Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands. Who's at the front desk right now? Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Deidre's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette party.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Restrictions apply. See Walgreens.com/Medicare for complete details.
I know you've been waiting a little bit longer than normal.
Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands.
Who's at the front desk right now?
Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Deidre's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette party.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Fed up with companies selling your data? DuckDuckGo is on it. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Good luck.
Every year, like clockwork, we get into the debate about bowl games. Bowl games don't matter. Players opting out. Clearly, the games don't matter because these players are opting out, right? That's kind of where this conversation, it always stems from that. Players who are going to the NFL view that those last bowl games that are not college football playoff games, they view those as pointless, meaningless games that if they are going to risk a season-ending or career-ending injury, it needs to be in a game that matters. There's really no other way around it. I mean, that's exactly the reason I say bowl games don't matter is because the athletes are telling you they don't matter and coaches are telling you they don't matter. You know, Brian Kelly, the second his regular season is over with, he takes him and his family, they take the LSU job. Why? There was still a game left to be played. Or was there? How about Lincoln Riley? Once Oklahoma's regular season was done and, of course, the college football playoff was obviously out of sight, there's still a bowl game left to be played, right? There's still the season remaining. Apparently not. Because the coaches let both of those two high-profile they weren't the only ones, by the way. Those two high-profile coaches left and took other jobs. Some people say in the middle of the season. It's not in the middle of the season. The season was over. There was meaningless exhibition games to be played for networks to make money. There was a big report out there. There was a lot of bowl games canceled because of COVID that ESPN was in danger of losing up to $400 million. Mm-hmm. So, yes, we could say that these bowl games technically mean nothing, but they mean a whole lot to some people. They mean a whole lot to some people, and those people are not the ones physically down on the field. However, I do understand those that look at these bowl games as just another opportunity to play alongside your brother, to play alongside your teammates. And my biggest argument is why I am against athletes looking at these bowl games as meaningless and, hey, I got to look out for me and worry about my money, is the only reason that these athletes are in position to go make that money is because of the work that they did, but also the work that the coaches did and the work that the guy to your left and to your right made as well. If you're a receiver looking to go to the NFL to make millions and millions of dollars, that means you had to do a lot right in college to put yourself in position to go make millions and millions of dollars. How did you get that football? The quarterback threw it to you. That same quarterback that's probably playing CJ Stroud, Garrett, Olave. I'm not mad at them, by the way. I know it's good. I'm basically coming at this from both sides.
You know who else ain't mad at him? Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah.
He
was able to break a record.
Holy moly. I mean, you also had Harrison and guys like that. They're like, but that's the thing. So my point is that to these guys who are going to go to the NFL and make millions and millions of dollars, that game may mean nothing, but you have a chance to go make those millions because, yes, of the work you put in, but because the guys around you put you in position to go get that money. Ryan Day put Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson in position to go make that money. And you bailed on him in that bowl game. And let's not act like that bowl game was not a big bowl game for Ryan Day. Ryan Day was he's definitely not on the hot seat. But that's the most uncomfortable that an Ohio State coach has been in quite some time, especially after losing to Michigan for the first time in 10 years. And now you end the season with the loss in the Rose Bowl. Now because Garrett Wilson, even though it may not have been their fault because cclearly the issues stem from the defensive end, but you would have put Ryan Day in a position to really be squirmy heading into next season. And guess what? You open up with Notre Dame. There's a good chance that had they not beat Utah in the Rose Bowl, that you risk having a 3-game losing streak, which I can't tell you. Maybe it was the Fickle year. I don't even think Fickle lost 3 straight games at Ohio State. So. That just doesn't happen. So it's not going to happen, but you see my point. So at the end of the day, as I currently sit here, I understand those who are against the athletes opting out. And Kirk Herbstreit is one of those who, a media analyst, that has come out and basically questioned the heart and the love of the game for these athletes. Now, I thought his usage of the video game analogy, that was so weird. That was weird. I mean, Keith Byers, I talked to him the other day. They played video games. They I don't know what video games had to do with it. But here's Kirk Herbstreit. This is the clip that Kev and I were talking about yesterday to close out the show that I wanted to open up with this today. Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard had an interesting back and forth regarding the perception of the student athletes today, of the football players today. Kirk Herbstreit basically saying that football players today don't love football. Take a listen.
Des, we played in quote-unquote meaningless games. I mean, I know you guys were here a lot, but I just don't understand. If you don't make it to the playoff, how is it meaningless to play football and compete? Isn't that what we do as football players? We compete. So I don't know if changing and expanding it is going to change anything. I really don't. I think this era of player just doesn't love football.
That's what I was about to say. We're dealing with a total different mentality when we're dealing with these student athletes nowadays, especially the football players. I mean, their whole mentality right now is about the championship, the playoff. We got to get into the CFB or the CFP. And because of that, they don't value the bowl games. Now, when we were coming up, Herbstreit and myself, like to go to a bowl game was a huge reward for a fantastic season. That's what it meant. It's like, okay, your team played this well, so you're going to be rewarded by going to this bowl game. You're going to get a ring. You're going to get swag. Now, kids don't really care about that. They have a sense of entitlement. And it's like, if we're not going to the one that matters, then, it just doesn't have as much value to them as it did us growing up.
See, that's not right. See, and it's like, okay, because people think that if you're against athletes opting out of bowl games, that everyone's on that side. I don't like that they opt out of bowl games, but not one explanation that Desmond Howard just gave is why I don't like that they sit. The explanation I gave, Kev, was simply, hey, I know you're looking out for yourself, but I have a hard time believing that a regular season game in November means something, but a game 4 weeks later doesn't mean something. Like you had just as much of an opportunity to get hurt in that Michigan game as you did in the Rose Bowl against Utah. And at least the Rose Bowl, there is something to play. I feel like the Rose Bowl at least has a little bit more substance to it. It's not the Rose Bowl of old, but it's also not one of those pointless Cheez-It bowls either that we talked about. But entitlement, let's just stop with that. We can't tell the student athletes that they're entitled when you have coaches who bail in the middle of the season. You can't tell the student athletes that it's entitlement when the network that you are cracking the mic for, Desmond and Kurt, that they're the ones that have put the sport in position for these athletes to not view it as meaningful. Because of the greed and the hunger for the college football playoff, it has basically killed the importance and urgency of these bowl games. And that's not the student athletes' fault. That's the network's fault.
Right.
Don't blame the student athletes for viewing the bowl games the same way you do. Pointless. You spend 365 days a year telling us the playoff matters, the playoff matters, the playoff matters. The only thing that matters is the playoff. And then all of a sudden when the bowl game schedule comes out, now they want to try to force feed the schedule to you and try to, build the importance of these games. You know why Michigan State and Pitt was supposed to be a great bowl game? Because of Pickett and Walker. You know who didn't play? Pickett and Walker. And that's not Pickett and Walker's fault. They are treating that bowl game the way that college football treats that bowl game. You want to treat it like you're sitting at church and the offering plate's being passed around? Well, guess what? You're not going to get what you're looking for. It drives me crazy. I actually agree that it's wrong to skip out on these bowl games, but none of them are for the reasons of which these guys are saying. I don't think these athletes love football any more or less than they did back then. I just think that there's more education. These players are smarter now. There's more opportunities for them. It doesn't mean that it's right. The one thing I heard earlier today, I forgot who I was listening. Joel Klatt. Mm-hmm. Joel Klatt said it the best. Joel Klatt said what he's uncomfortable with for guys like Caleb Wilson who are looking to leave Oklahoma and go elsewhere. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Kyler Murray. Look at the Eagles quarterback. Why am I drawing? Jalen Hurts. Look at the line
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Look at the line of quarterbacks that are coming from Alabama right now, or not Alabama. Well, 202, but mainly he was talking about Oklahoma. Like he didn't think it was right to leave to chase name, image, and likeness money. He goes, so let's say that on the higher end you get $2.5 million on a higher end name, image, and likeness deal. Because that's unprecedented. That's super. That's awesome. He goes, but is going to a worse situation to chase that $2.5 million now, is it worth the big money that you're going to make when you get to the NFL and risk an opportunity to get there? That logic, that's more professionally presented than saying that these kids are entitled, than saying that they don't love football, than saying that they love video games. I love Kirk Herbstreit. Desmond Howard, he drives me nuts, but whatever, he gets a reaction. But at the end of the day, Kev, I'm agreeing with their stance, but the reasoning for their stance, I cannot get behind, not even a little bit.
Can't get behind it at all. And I'll keep it real. The reason I wanted Chris Olave to play, the reason I wanted Garrett Wilson to play, because it increased Ohio State's chances of winning the Rose Bowl. That's why I wanted them to play. Selfishly, I wanted them to play. But I knew they weren't going to play. And my brother went to the Rose Bowl, and he said he saw Olave out there throwing the ball around, catching some passes in sweats. Of course, he's like, yeah, he's not playing. I was like, yeah, we knew that already. So that's why I wanted him to play. And I don't understand why Kirk Herbstreit or Desmond Howard or any other talking head on ESPN is bashing the player when the term meaningless playoff game was created from someone that they work with. Like that term was created from someone that they work with. And miraculously, it started when the playoffs started. And the playoff is on their network. So they build their entire football season around the playoff. And you're surprised when people are saying meaningless playoff game, who's going to get to the playoff, what games really matter, where are we going for college game day? This is the biggest game of the season. This isn't a big game. We're not going to predict this game. What do you think is going to happen to the people that actually play the game? Once their season is done, they're out. And also another thing about players opting out and hitting the transfer portal, something we have to keep in mind as well. With the transfer portal, the coach is going to want you into the new school when the new academic calendar starts. So if you're in the transfer portal right now, classes at a lot of these schools start on Monday. So it's going to be a whole bunch of dudes announcing where they're going to be going very soon so they can get to enrolled and everything like that. So the calendar is why all this is out of whack. The calendar for college football is wonky, and I don't understand if it could ever really, quote unquote, get fixed, because we have the end of the regular season
with the early signing,
with the early signing period. Then you got bowl games, but guess what? Coaches have been fired in September. So, hey man, you Brian Kelly, you coming to LSU or not? Well, I really want to see if we're going to make the college football playoff. Can you guys wait until Sunday at 2:00 till we find out? No, we got to know by Friday at 7. So that puts him in a position. So I can bang on Brian Kelly for being a weasel and his family and all this type of stuff like that, but he's put up against the clock. So that in turn puts the players up against the clock. Well, I came here to play for Brian Kelly. So I'm hitting the portal. So I got to find a school between December 2nd and January 15th. So all this stuff is mashed up into one melting pot. So the calendar is totally out of whack. And as far as Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard are concerned with the entitlement thing, I don't think that is any more entitlement. I definitely don't think it's video games. Look, man, it's a business to everybody. And now is officially a business to the players as well. It's a business for ESPN. Over 16 million people watch both college football playoff games. 16 million viewers came in for the Rose Bowl. It is big business. You talked about the cancellation of bowl games. That cost ESPN a ton of money. So they're making money. Kirk Herbstreit's making money. Desmond Howard's making money. You and I are making money off of the college football playoff. And I just don't understand it not being a business for the player as well. Absolutely. I would prefer them playing the bowl games. I would prefer the bowl games be epic again. But you know why it won't be epic again? Because there's so many bowl games. I love the bowl games. I'll turn on a bowl game. It's some background noise, even if it's a team that I could care less about. But the reason why Desmond Howard can say like, oh man, it was a reward, because there were so few of them. You actually had to be a good team to make a bowl game. Now there's 6-6 teams in there, and there's some teams that are 5-7 in there to make bowl games because there's so many of them. They have to fill those spots. And they created all these bowl games because it is the holiday season and people are home and they get great numbers. Even the Duke Mayo Bowl did crazy numbers because it's on in the middle of the day when people are on vacation, just chilling at home. Man, we turn it on, have it on as background noise. So the influx of so many bowl games, and then we have the coaching turnover. Then we have the transfer portal. Then we have guys getting ready for the NFL, making a business decision. It's an adjustment that we're all going to have to make, unfortunately. And this is a repercussion of the college football playoff animal that ESPN was part of creating.
Yeah, the one thing I'll never be able to wrap my head around is the justification of you can play a game in November, but December is too dangerous to play football if it's not in the college football playoff. Like, I can't get around. And by the way, when you're Garrett Wilson and you're a team captain, you're Chris Olave, you're a team captain, yes, I slightly have a problem with you not playing in a bowl game, like to finish the season with your teammates. Like, I get it, it's a business decision, and people throw that out. That's business decision. That's a reason. It doesn't mean it's a good one. It's a good one to them, but it's not a good one to the team. And I don't know why people have to do this either, Kev. I'm not saying you do, but you do, but not in the way that I'm talking about, where, well, if coaches can go, then players can go. Why is it that we're like, it's always picking a side? Well, if coaches can go, the players can go. I don't think anyone's saying it's okay for coaches to go either. I think people are all saying they hate it all. I think everyone just said, I hate that the coaches quit on their team with the game left in the season.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that I like what Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley did, but I hate what Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson did. No, I think it's wrong what they did too. I just think it's all weak. It's all snaky. And I don't know. And then, of course, the player, who was the quarterback? Corral.
Thank goodness.
The quarterback that went down to the injury. And everyone's like, see, that's why you don't do. Okay, how many players don't get hurt in a game? But the one player that gets hurt, that's why everyone doesn't do it. That injury could easily happen 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. And by the way, if we're going to say that the game is meaningless because you're not in the college football playoff, then what's stopping teams from, once you pick up your second loss at the end of September, why continue playing?
Right.
Hey, because if you're saying you're not going to play the bowl game because it's not the college football playoff, and once you're not in the playoff, the season doesn't matter, then why are you playing it all in September and October? If your team has 2 or 3, like for instance, Utah this year, all those players that played, well, they're not a good example because they didn't have anyone opt out, but I don't know. You see my point. So Ohio State lost to Oregon. If they would have lost another one along the way, let's say they would have lost to Michigan State, and then before they get to Michigan or something, why don't you sit out the Michigan game? You got to put your NFL career first, right? Playing in Michigan, it's not the national championship or college football playoff. So or Big Ten championship game at that. Why are you not sitting out of that? It's not for a college football playoff. So that's where I get frustrated. We're saying it's because of the college football playoff, but it's really not. I mean, back then it was only the top 2 teams make the national championship.
Right.
So what is it about these bowl games that they're meaningless, but playing as a 3-loss team in this October, not meaningless?
I think that I would love to have a coach on to ask them this question, because I personally believe that the coaches are not the coaches, not trying to make it bad about the coaches, but like buy in for the season. And I think that all the coaches know that the season ends after the regular season, that the bowl game is, the start of next season. Like, that's why they always use that term. This is going to boomerang us into next season. We got a lot of young guys, got a lot of reps. We talked about this with Harrison getting out there scoring touchdowns in the Rose Bowl. Like, oh, man, can't wait to see him next year. Like, oh, man, he got his feet wet. He finally got a chance to get out there and prove himself and everything like that. So I think coaches view the bowl game as a boomerang for the young guys for next season, as opposed to like, all right, let's send it. Like the old term was like, let's send our seniors out in style. I don't think that's the rhetoric that coaches use so much anymore. I think they're more focused on like, all right, let's get the young guys some reps. Let's see what they're made of in a hostile environment and a pressure situation, and boomerang us into next season, as opposed to sending our seniors out the right way. Like, I think that's the new rhetoric that coaches are using.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. And, of course, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Appreciate everyone who tunes in weekdays from 3 to 6, whether it's on air on 1410 Wing AM or live on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show. You can watch the show. You can watch it live on YouTube. Search ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and follow along. Shows in their entirety are posted there, as well as select segments and all interviews. Speaking of interviews, ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. He joins us next. We'll talk a little Cincinnati Bengals football. Where does Joe Burrow fall in Jason Fitz' MVP list? We'll talk about that. We'll get his thoughts on, of course, that reporter saying that he wasn't going to vote for Aaron Rodgers due to his vaccination status. And the Cleveland Browns, as Baker Mayfield played his final game in Cleveland. We'll get to all of that with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. He joins us next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This tax filing season could be one for the record books. There are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table, and Jackson Hewitt will help make sure you get every one you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, taking classes, and so much more. Don't leave thousands on the table. Jackson Hewitt will make sure you get credit for all you do and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more and find your nearest location at jacksonhewitt.com.
Did you know that over 90% of male enhancement pills are virtually the same thing that's repackaged, redone over and over again? Why settle for the same old product when you can get something completely different? Something that takes male enhancement into the 21st century. Something that really works. Men, you need to try Noxatrol, the explosive, all-natural male enhancement formula that will unlock your performance in the bedroom to a level you could only dream of. Try to imagine that little blue pill on steroids. Noxatrol is so powerful. That's why it took years for it to finally become available to the public without a prescription. So call now and take advantage of our special Noxatrol free bottle offer today. Oh yeah, we recommend that you use the Noxatrol dose as directed. Think of your partner. We certainly don't want you to overperform in the bedroom.
To get a free bottle of Noxatrol, call 800-844-9465. That's 800-844-9465. Free bottles for limited time. So call now. 800-844-9465. 800-844-9465.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations, serving the greater Dayton and Cincinnati area, is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase. Visit on Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com.
GameTime.com and upgrade today. Game time, you know what that means. Burgers, dogs, your favorite ice-cold beverage, and football. Hi, this is Kirby with Audio Etc. And if you're going to invite the gang over, you can't do it on that old-fashioned high-def TV. What you need to do is come by Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see the latest in 4K picture, 4 times the resolution of high definition, and experience it in 11.2 Dolby Atmos surround sound. Until you do that, you're just watching some big guys run around the field with numbers on it. See, hear, and feel what you've been missing. Installation available. 1 year, same as cash to QBs, not quarterbacks, qualified buyers, Audio Etc. Dayton's finest audio and video. And remember, all 4K TVs and projectors from Audio Etc. are gluten-free. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
Yes, Miss Tubbs. No problem. I'll call someone about the plumbing.
One of Beatrice's properties needs a new superintendent.
Custodial team is not
someone with handyman superpowers and a concierge alter ego.
Does anyone know any good electricians near Parkville?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Dayton Fire Department is hiring and accepting applications beginning January 4th, running through February 20th. If you have a determined attitude and are looking for an exciting job with great pay, superior training, with college credits available after training, excellent benefits, and a rewarding career, then the Dayton Fire Department needs you. Visit joindaytonfire.com for more information today. Minorities especially encouraged to apply. The DFD is an equal opportunity employer. The Dayton Fire Department. Come live the dream.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Deep breaths.
Mi's virtual meditation studio has never been busier.
Imagine not working.
They need a remote assistant to realign their scheduling.
Blank calendar. Sorry. Back to your breath.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Make calls, schedule virtual interviews, and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on a Wednesday. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash brought to you by Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. And, of course, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Looking to buy or sell your home? Give Brad Mays a call today, 937-572-7425. For those of you watching live on Facebook and YouTube, just look at Brad right there, trusting face. We'll get you the home of your dreams. He just did for my fiance and I, and we're all moved in. We got the paintings done. We got people coming out to put a fence in coming up here soon. So there you go. But Brad
home
Mays,
ownership,
Home Experts Realty, yeah, until they tell you have to pay for it. I'm like, what? Just get home, put a fence up. Paint. I didn't know you had to pay for all that, but shout out to CertaPro Painters as well. CertaPro Painters, they've been helping me with all my painting projects for years now, and it was pretty cool having them come out to help me paint my very first home. So there's that. Of course, me and Nora had one of our biggest arguments.
Uh-oh.
I wanted a certain color. She wanted the other color. But I've been told, we're engaged. The wedding's coming up sooner than you think. I was like, well, happy wife, happy life. Might as well start practicing now. Until the paint wasn't exactly the color that I thought she picked. She picked something different than I thought. I come home and I'm like, that's not the color we picked. She goes, yeah, well, I changed it. I was like, oh, you did you?
Get used to that, dog. Get used to that.
No big deal. But, I have no choice now.
Yeah, it's there now. You know how I avoid all those type of arguments? I don't make the decisions.
Oh. I made the mistake of having an opinion, of wanting a color. I should just let her pick it from the get-go.
Yeah. Just save yourself the argument. Just pay.
And,
pay.
I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. Speaking of being wrong, Cincinnati Bengals are AFC North champs, and I'm excited to bring on our next guest. Actually, I don't remember which line he's on. Which line is he on, by the way? This ruined the whole entire transition into this. Let's go to ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. There we go. Jason, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Always remember, it's not important that you're wrong or you're right in those debates. Like, you don't need to be right. What you need to do is let her be wrong. That you get way more leverage out of that. So you just let her make all the decisions. Yep. You let her win every argument, because then you can turn around and be like, see, this color stinks. I told you. That's way better than taking the chance you're wrong.
Yes.
I figure pick my battles. I got, there's a certain part of the yard we wanted fenced in, and I got my way on that. So I guess I won that battle. So there you go. Plus, it's cheaper, and I'm all about saving money. I don't have anything. But Jason, I'm wrong a lot. I have no problem admitting it. I was wrong about the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, it wasn't a backhanded compliment, but I did tweet out that I don't think that the Bengals are the best team in the AFC North. I think that they're the healthiest team in the AFC North. I do think that the Browns, even if completely healthy, would have shot themselves in the foot. There seems to be something going on in the locker room, behind the scenes, that goes beyond just the injuries and COVID that's kind of plagued them all year. No pun intended. But the Ravens, so I said, in all honesty, that if you have Lamar for the whole season and don't have the J.K. Dobbins and all the injuries and the secondary and everything from the very beginning, that's a 12-13 win team. That's the team that's winning the AFC North. I wasn't taking a shot at the Bengals. I still said they're a very, very good football team. But you would have thought I made a Jesus joke in church. They have been on me all day. Jason, I don't know if you know this. New year, new me. I'm all about positivity when it comes to the Bengals, but they don't want to accept positivity from me.
Yeah, well, I'm positive you're right. I mean, look, I sat on air yesterday and said, look, the Bengals are positioned to be really good for the next decade, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to look at it and see all of the positives of Cincinnati, and then also say sometimes better to be lucky than good. And this year, when it comes to the injury bug and it comes to COVID and roster construction in general, I think only the Titans have had to deal with more than the Ravens have had. So I kind of look at the Ravens situation and say, okay, you live to see another year. You're going to be just fine there long term. But this year it gives Cincinnati the opportunity to play with house money. Take advantage of it. I won't take any credit away from that. I think, kudos to the Bengals for getting it done. But I don't think it's a hot take to say that the fact that the Ravens even are where they are, given the restrictions on their roster, is pretty stunning to me.
So with that being said, I do like the Bengals. I think, when they destroyed the Ravens 2 weeks ago, I said, look, that has a lot to do with, I'd hope that they can have success in the pass game against that depleted secondary, but there's having success against that secondary and then doing what Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow did. And then they followed it up with another humongous performance, a similar performance against the Kansas City Chiefs, who, although aren't known for their defense has actually been very solid this year. But Joe Burrow had his way with that secondary. Is this a team that has just taken advantage of of weaker defensive teams the last 2 weeks, or is this a switch that has been flipped on? I've said if I'm any team in the AFC, the Bengals are the last team I want to face come playoff time. That offense is probably the most complete as far as not the offensive line, of course, that's bad, but weapons-wise between Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow. Outside of Kansas City, Jason, I don't know. I mean, I think that's the second most explosive offense in the AFC, right?
I might give you the most explosive. I genuinely think that this offense, if their offensive line even holds up, is capable of beating anybody, partially because they've got so much speed, but partially because they've got guys that just win the match at the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's part of we keep talking about Jamar Chase, and I think one of the things that's really stunning to me is how often you can't get hands on him on the line. Like, he's capable of avoiding press coverage, and then when you try and press him, he's capable of making you look silly. So, you know, T. Higgins, somebody I was a big fan of coming out. I think he's had a big year this year towards that growth and that next step. They've got guys that can beat you all the way across the board. This offense and the way that Joe Burrow is playing right now, it just has all the swagger that Kansas City had 2 years ago. There's something special happening offensively. Now, I think that there's no team in the AFC that presents a more difficult matchup than the Titans if Derrick Henry's healthy, because nobody's used to having to stop that running back. But I'm not sure that anybody's going to slow down. You want to beat the Bengals in the playoffs, you better score 35, and that's tough for most teams to do.
One of the opponents that the Ravens blew out twice were the Baltimore Ravens. And when that video came out last week of Lamar Jackson at practice, everybody had their eyes on his legs and him limping and everything like that. My eyes were drawn to the field. Their field looked like a dirt field. I know this is like last week's news, but that was quite alarming to me that an NFL franchise is out there rolling out there playing basically on dirt.
Yeah, I think there's questions that need to be answered by Baltimore as an organization on if they're putting guys in the best situation to be healthy, especially this year with the amount of injuries they've had on top of COVID, right? And so I'm a little stunned and was a little stunned, to your point, to see a practice facility that looked like that, a field that looked like that. And Lamar limping, I mean, that I'm okay with, but you're absolutely 1,000% right. You know, that you have to look at the injury bug and say, hey, if I'm the Ravens, I need to re-examine everything from my training staff to my training regimen. But also I am going to have to ask some serious questions about the investment being put into practice fields. And over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, most teams have done a good job of realizing that and reinvesting in that area, almost like college football. But obviously the Ravens are still behind the 8 ball on it. Inexcusable to me that they would possibly be risking any help for any of their guys by practicing on something that looks like an elementary school field.
Speaking of Lamar and the Ravens, does he play this week? I mean, they need a miracle to make the playoffs. You need Jacksonville to jump up there and beat the Colts, and they need to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Does Lamar Jackson go out there and play on Sunday?
No, I don't think so. And look, I do say this, as much as I love what Huntley's done, and he's going to get himself paid, so he's going to get a nice opportunity, but he is not Lamar Jackson. And all of this trying to minimize what we've seen to Lamar Jackson. Like, Lamar Jackson's been a shell of himself health-wise, still played really well. Lamar Jackson is capable of playing at an MVP level. I'm not going to put Huntley in that conversation yet, but Huntley has played well enough for the Ravens to win. So if I'm the Ravens, I'm not risking long-term anything just to try and sneak into the playoffs. Like, I'd rather roll the dice, considering how many other things have to go right. Like, do any of us really believe? I know, and I keep seeing the NFL Network tell me how long it's been since, you know, the Colts and Frank Reich won in Jacksonville and all these things. It's still Jacksonville. Like, 50 points last week by the Patriots, and they made it look easy. So I don't think anybody really thinks that outcome's going to happen. So I'd play it safe for the injury.
I'm a Browns fan. You know this. I'm a Baker supporter even after this season. I know that, look, I'm not going to make excuses, but injuries, to me, that's not an excuse. That's a reason when it comes to Baker. But I do know this. You know, people say, oh, last year Tom Brady played with a lot of injuries as well. And I'm like, well, that's Tom Brady. I'm not a homer to the point where I think Baker Mayfield's Tom Brady or an elite quarterback by any means. When you look at Baker Mayfield, when he's healthy, a lot of things have to go right for him to be effective. And he was very effective last year because, like the luck we talked about for the Bengals staying healthy and everyone crumbling around them, that was the Browns last year. They benefited from a Ravens team that got beat up as the season went on. They benefited from a Steelers team that started 11-0 and started falling apart. They benefited from a rebuilding Bengals team. But the thing is when Baker's healthy, very, very good quarterback. Not elite, but very, very good. He can win you football games. He did it last year. He did it his rookie season. But when he's injured, to expect him to overcome that on top of the injuries to those around him, he's not that guy. It's not like Lamar who can elevate a depleted roster. It's not like Aaron Rodgers who can go out there without a wide receiving core out for COVID and elevate the roster. That's not who he is. I'm realistic of who he is, but I also have to be realistic about his future in Cleveland. Did I just watch Baker's final game in Cleveland on Monday night?
No, and it's in my mind, it's largely because what else is out there? Now, yes, anybody can buy a lottery ticket tonight. Maybe they'll win, but we've got to look at this draft class coming in, and there's not a single quarterback in this year's draft class that any analyst has as much confidence in as they did Baker Mayfield when he came out. So whatever quarterback you're getting is already more of a crapshoot than you took the last time, and if you believe that didn't work out, this is an even worse bet. Like, this is the bookie looking at you, laughing, saying, you really want to double down on this? That's what the draft is this year. So now it becomes free agency movement. And I think one of the reasons ESPN, like I've said this repeatedly, loudly, even though I work for the network, I think one of the dumbest things we did as a company a year ago was tell you it was going to be the quarterback offseason, unprecedented change. We ran ads across the network. And what do we get? Goff and Stafford changed places, right? So this concept that Aaron Rodgers is going to get away from the Packers forgets that there is still a year guaranteed on that. Like, he can't go anywhere next year unless they let him go somewhere. And I'm sure Russell Wilson might go to the Seahawks, but if he does, there's going to be a dozen teams that are out there kicking the tires on him. Like, we just keep thinking the dominoes are going to fall. And I would ask every single fan to play the shoe on the other foot game. Like, what is real for what would be trade value that you'd be comfortable giving up that another fan base would be comfortable getting for a quarterback, and vice versa? I just don't think there's another solution. And by the time it all ends up, we're going to end up looking around and saying, hey, you want this backup quarterback, or this, you want Jameis Winston, or you want those are the names that are going to end up possibly having the opportunity to move this summer. So, like, frankly, if Baker ends up free, somebody's going to give him an incentive-laden contract that can make him a ton of money over the next couple of years, and they're going to roll the dice on him. I think he's back in Cleveland.
Yeah, I've always said that, Baker not being elite is actually a blessing in disguise for Cleveland, because if you look at a team like the Chiefs, who had to give $500 million to Patrick Mahomes, as each year goes on, he's going to have more and more talent leave the roster than join the roster. We've seen this with Aaron Rodgers, where once he got paid, less talent started coming to Green Bay, and they had to start really relying on the draft. You look at Russell Wilson with the Seahawks, and you look around as more and more of these quarterbacks get paid. I know it's a tired narrative, but it doesn't mean that it's not a real narrative. That narrative is real, and it impacts how teams are built and constructed. We know Baker can win with a lot of talent around him. Well, if you pay him elite money, you can't keep that talent around him. But you don't have to pay him elite money because Baker's not an elite quarterback. That could be a silver lining for the Browns moving forward. That, well, you mentioned earlier, Cincinnati all of a sudden looks like the Chiefs did a couple years ago in the early goings of that Chiefs run. And the difference is now that they've paid Mahomes, and they're going to have to start losing some of that talent. Eventually, the Bengals aren't going to be able to keep Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase as time goes on. So their offense will take a hit as time goes on when that time comes. I think Cleveland can keep a lot of this core together for quite some time, especially if they don't have to put all their money into their quarterback.
Yeah, everything you just said makes a ton of sense, and that's how I would approach it as a GM. The one thing you can't do is risk everything on a quarterback without any knowledge of what you got, because then you're putting the whole franchise, like, you are truly all in. And that's the problem I think I have when I look so often at, for example, the draft process. And, I think what's real this year is, like, if we find out in February that Deshaun Watson has been falsely accused by a ton of people and suddenly his name is cleared, he's going to be a very, very hot free agent. But a team like Miami is going to go out and get him. So now you're suddenly looking at you're looking at Baker Mayfield or Tua Tagovailoa, like, and there's much less of a difference when you're talking about those conversations to me. So I think we just have to have the context of, okay, who are we as an organization? Who are these quarterbacks as organizations? And what serves the organization long term? Which, to your point, for the Browns, be patient. Keep addressing your biggest need across the board, and then wait and see if the quarterback class next year looks better. Maybe then you go all in with equity if you need to. But right now, it's not the time to make change just to make change. Breaking up with your girl just because you think there's a prettier one doesn't always mean you're going to get a prettier one.
Or over what color you paint your walls.
Yeah.
All right.
You look around, you're like, you know what? That weird shade of gray is worth it, because frankly, we're box committed at this point.
Sunday night football. Chargers, Raiders, winner take all. What's going down? Your boys gonna get it done or what?
Well, I mean, the football gods hate me, so no. I mean, what I'm anticipating is that the football gods are going to give me this epic matchup, and late in the fourth quarter, the Raiders are going to collapse, give up 21, and I'm going to sit in Indianapolis waiting for the national championship in tears at a random bar. That's what I see happening, but I do think it's a winnable game for the Raiders. The Raiders getting Darren Waller back, and obviously health has been an issue for both teams, but you can run on the Chargers, and the Raiders have been running the ball efficiently of late, and frankly, the Raiders just scored on a team better defensively than LA, almost at San Diego. So the Raiders just beat a team of the Colts that I think is better than the Chargers. So I thought that the Colts would beat them by 20. I was very wrong about that. So now I'm just sitting back saying, man, the identity of this Raiders team is it is going to be ugly, and they're going to try and win it at the last second. They're trying not going to let the game get too far away from them. They are not particularly aggressive in either offensively or defensively. They are just trying not to lose football games, and it's worked for 3 straight weeks. I got to give them a lot of credit. So I'll watch and I'll hope that I am if they win, I'll still be drunk by the time the Natty happens Monday night.
ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz with us here. Last two things, Jason, and we'll let you go. But you mentioned your Raiders, and there's you talked about the national championship. One team that we thought there was a chance to see in the national championship was Michigan. They got blown out by Georgia. And we talked earlier about the Browns. Did we see the last of Baker Mayfield in Cleveland? Did we see the last of John Harbaugh at Michigan? And if not, is it because he's going to be the next head coach of your team, the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, I think there's a real shot that Harbaugh ends up in Vegas because Mark Davis loves superstar coaches. I mean, he just did it with the WNBA. And WNBA, the Vegas Aces that he owns, didn't need a coach, but he went out and made Becky Hammon the richest coach in the WNBA. Why? Because she's a big name, and she's somebody he can put up on billboards to get attention in Vegas. And he's aware of the sales pitch that's necessary in that city. So when you're competing against so many things for the entertainment dollar, the Raiders understand that they need a splash. They need a name, and that was intended to be Gruden for obvious reasons. It's not anymore. So that I fully think that the Raiders are going to go after the biggest name coach they can get. And given the relationship that Mark Davis has with Harbaugh already, and the fact that a lot of people inside the building say that, Mark was already going to rely on Harbaugh to be a voice he can talk to through the coaching search, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Mark just say, okay, here's $10 million. You want to come coach my team? So, I think it's very real. Harbaugh I would be surprised if Harbaugh isn't the next coach of the Raiders.
Wow. So the Natty goes down on Monday. Bama, Georgia. Who wins the rematch?
I'm never going to bet against Nick Saban or for Kirby Smart in this situation, but I will tell you one thing that I think could make it, because these two teams are so even when it comes to talent, it comes down to coaching. One interesting nugget that we found, just breaking the SEC championship game down over and over and over again, is that Georgia did not blitz Alabama at all. And when they did blitz Alabama, they had tremendous success, but it felt like they could get home with their front four. That turned out not to be the case. So because they couldn't get home and they didn't blitz enough, they got carved up, particularly in the second half. I think Georgia's going to come out super aggressive with the blitz in this game, especially with no Mechie. So I expect big yardage in the passing game as a result, because Bryce Young's going to take advantage of it. I think it's why Alabama wins. But if Bryce Young makes a mistake or two, Georgia is good enough to capitalize. It'll be a closer game than the last one was, but I still think Alabama wins the Natty. But look for more blitzing from Georgia.
All right, good stuff. ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz, good enough to join us here this week like he does every week all the way up through Super Bowl Sunday, which that's coming up not too far off in the distance. How about that? Jason, thank you so much as always. Hope you had a great holiday break and a Happy New Year.
Appreciate you guys. I might still be drunk by the time we talk next week if the Raiders are in the playoffs. Let's go!
We'll drink with you. We'll have one in honor of your Raiders. How about that? 518-1410. That's the number to call in. Jason Fitz, everybody. All right, folks, we'll be back in a moment. 518-1410. Give us a call. We talked about the Browns. We talked about the Bengals. You're Jason Fitz right there. The Bengals might have the most explosive. I mean, I didn't want to get into that conversation of, oh, man, I can't say that the Bengals are better than the Chiefs, even though they just beat them. But I look at that Bengals offense, and I'm like, but they kind of are better than the Bengals or than the Chiefs offense. Like, not just because they won, but you have 3 elite receivers. You have a top 5 running back. You have a quarterback that's playing at an MVP-like level right now. And he just he believes the same thing. The Bengals have the best offense in the AFC heading into the playoffs, at least right now. But, of course, the Titans, I know, Schroeder, if you're listening, you'll appreciate that he gave your Titans some love as far as that is concerned. Baker Mayfield has not played his last game in Cleveland, according to Jason Fitz. Kev and I will give you our reaction to a lot of the takeaways from Jason when we come back. Hour 3 coming up next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
70% of the Fortune 100 choose Zoom. With phone, chat, workspaces, apps, events, and video in a single platform, Zoom powers all your communications. Large enterprises, small businesses, and individuals use the secure Zoom platform to enable new ways of working, learning, hosting events, and supporting their customers. And now you can save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with the Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
I need postcards printed and designed. Oh, and a targeted direct mail campaign.
It's possible at Staples.
I need my presentation printed, bound, and perfect.
Also possible. Your local Staples store can help your business navigate the future of work with custom printed sales and marketing materials. Now get 25% off custom printed labels, postcards, flyers, brochures, and more when you spend $60 or more. Explore what's new at Staples, the working and learning store. Ends 1/29 in store only. See staples.com/print for details.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Only $49.99 guaranteed. Don't just cut down. Stop smoking. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars Thursday, January 13th at the Holiday Inn in Fairborn. Weight loss seminar 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 to 10 p.m. And Saturday, January 15th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Dayton. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 to 4 p.m. More info at markpatrickseminars.com.
Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered. They help millions of people like you get privacy online without any trade-offs. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
It's better breakfast o'clock at Wendy's. Get hot and buttery breakfast biscuits made with bacon or sausage, egg, and cheese. So don't risk it. Get a Wendy's biscuit sandwich. Limited time only at participating Wendy's.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, The Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
We are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Shout out to ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. Jason has been hanging out with us every week, starting from the beginning of the NFL season. By the way, so the Browns opened up the season against the Chiefs, and the Bengals opened up the season against Minnesota. And I just feel like that seems like ages ago, but the fact that we are starting the playoffs here soon, it's kind of mind-boggling to me. Like the NFL, we wait so long. We go through so much to get to the point where we finally start talking about the games. And just like that, it's over.
Yep.
There was even an extra week, technically. That's what's nuts is the playoffs should be starting this week.
Yep.
Not a normal year. This is normal, but in the old school way. Back in my day, we only played 16 games.
12 months ago.
Holy moly, the playoff picture, of course. But we'll get into that coming up in a moment. College basketball tonight, VCU, the Rams are going to be at Dayton at UD Arena. Dayton 8-5 on the season. They are a 4-point favorite against VCU. And the thing is, I also feel like we're about to wrap up the college basketball season, but I was looking at like Ohio State's schedule today and Wright State and UD's. I'm like, man, there's almost 20 games left. If you make a run in the conference tournament, we're talking about close to 20 games still remaining for these teams. That's a lot. But the Dayton Flyers, the last time, it's been a while since they've played a basketball game. They technically wrapped up their conference season last month. I'm being kind of sarcastic, but yeah, last month they wrapped up their conference season against Southern, the Jaguars, and that seems like ages ago. So, they're finally back out on the floor. We'll see. That was more than a few weeks ago. That was December 21st.
Wow.
The last time the Flyers played a game was December 21st. They've had games canceled in that meantime, of course, because of COVID outbreaks. And of course, they're supposed to be at Richmond, Rhode Island. I'm sorry. They're supposed to be against St. Bonaventure. That game postponed. Now it's, VCU tonight.
Yeah, that's 3 weeks ago.
That's 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
That's almost 3 weeks ago to the date.
And that's a lot, So Wright State, they're in action tomorrow night. They got UIC. UIC opened up against the Flyers earlier in the year. UIC hasn't played in 3 weeks either.
How does that affect the spread? Because I would imagine like Vegas knows like the team that's been playing more games, they're in rhythm and everything like that. If you take a 3-week hiatus, you're going to come out rusty, right?
You would have to think that Vegas, I would love to find a line. By the way, for you sports gambling addicts out there, I'm not yet, but I probably will be when it's going to be legal here in a month or two? No, April. I think it's April when you can place your first legal bet. I cannot wait.
Oh goodness!
Can't wait to bet on the Reds, who won't be playing at that time because Rob Manfred's fill in the blank. But I would love to find some kind of article talking about the loss of money in college athletics, because I think it's as unpredictable as any. I think it could be all sports, but I think college is even harder. The NBA, you at least know a lot about those guys. You know probably more about them than you do the entire college basketball landscape, and the same thing in college football and the NFL. You look at all these college games. Yes. If you're going to place a bet on a game, like if the season was just about to start week 1, and you're placing a bet on week 12 or week 13, you know what I mean? Like you have no clue if that game even happens. You have no clue if that team, which team's going to be decimated by COVID,
right?
Or not. And we're not even talking about the good old days when we used to talk about injuries. Now it's COVID, so very strange. But Wright State at home tomorrow night against UIC, and then Dayton Flyers in action tonight. They're at home. Ohio State will be in action tomorrow night as well. So a lot going on in college basketball, and I think this is about the time where everyone starts to transition to paying attention to college basketball. I know that's weird to say in this city who breathes UD basketball, but the point is The common basketball fan usually waits for college football to wrap up before their attention turns towards the hardwood. But the hardwood's a hard product to watch right now.
Yeah.
Wright State, they were horrible to start out the year. Horrible. They lost. I mean, they had 1, 2, 3. They had lost 5 straight at one point. They had lost 5 of 8 at one point. They had lost 7 of 8 at one point. And then since then, they beat Tennessee Tech. They went on the road and out of the ACC beat NC State. And then they took care of business against Milwaukee and Green Bay over the weekend, all without Coach Nagy. Scott Nagy was out with, I'm assuming he was out with that. I mean, he wasn't on the sideline, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not on the sideline. So that UIC, they're looking to win their 5th straight tomorrow. But it's been such a weird, wonky season, so up and down for everyone. The Dayton Flyers have had a wonky resume. Wright State has a weird resume. Ohio State, they have wins over the number 1 team in the country, but they've struggled with Akron. So it's like you never know what you're going to get from all these teams right now.
Yeah, it's crazy right now with the starting and the stopping and knowing that basketball is a rhythm sport and just trying to find your way. The team that I follow, Syracuse, like they've had so many starts and stops going on. I totally forgot they had a game tonight. Like I can't even keep up with when the teams are going to be playing because you get hyped to watch a game and then comes across the ticker that, nope, that's canceled. And then it totally just throws everything off. As a fan, I can only imagine what's going on as a player or a coach, like how much this is throwing them off. And you know what? For the coaches, like this is their job. Like, if a coach has a bad season and it's partly due because of COVID, what do you do? Like, if a coach say they were on the hot seat going into the season, and this is a year that's ravaged by COVID with basketball, what do you do as an administration? Do you give them that extra year? Because they sure didn't do that in football. Football, they didn't care. They're like, looking for a reason to fire Clay Helton, and they finally got it. So,
well, to be fair, Clay Helton, and outside of making the playoff, I don't think his job was. I didn't expect him to be fired mid-season, and it wasn't even mid-season.
Was he fired in September?
It was early. I thought it was.
I think it was September.
I forgot that USC job was open. I forgot he was fired. That's how long ago it was before. It took Lincoln Riley taking the job before I realized. Oh, I forgot they moved on from Helton. Back in August or September, whatever the hell it was. But nonetheless. 518-1410, that's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. But again, Dayton Flyers fans, Dayton VCU tonight.
Yep, he was fired in September 13th.
Interesting, nonetheless. So we're talking earlier about college football and opt-outs. Damon Hahn on Facebook says, as far as bowl games go, I used to be upset about the players sitting out. Since the college football playoffs started, now think of every other bowl game as a showcase for future talent. Kev stole my thunder before I could say it. The bowl game is the following season. It is an invitation to participate, not a commitment that has been already agreed upon. I've heard like your take on that, and he agrees with you on that. But until I hear actual teams come out and say that the purpose of bowl games is for next year, I've heard teams come out and say, hey, we could take advantage of this for next year because it's extra practice opportunities and it's a chance to get to see some of the younger players shine but that's just coach speak to me of trying to shine up a turd, trying to polish a turdy situation, if you will. By the way, if you guys think, like, I know coaches like to say the right thing, deep down Ryan Day hates that Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson didn't play in that game. Doesn't mean he hates them by any means. That's not what I'm saying. But coaches know that they have to play the game right now. Coaches don't have leverage anymore. It's all the players. Ryan Day, coaches want to come out and say, I hate that they're not playing in these bowl games. And no one can tell me otherwise, because I have a hard time believing that Ryan Day is just perfectly fine with having Chris Olave at practice every day, which I don't understand. Why was he practicing during that stretch every day? I don't know what Garrett Wilson did, but the reports coming out.
Garrett Wilson was never in LA.
In Pasadena, right?
Yeah, he was never there.
But Chris Olave practiced every day. And what I don't get, and by the way, it didn't impact the team whatsoever because Chris Olave, obviously in Jigba and those guys were just killer. But, like, why? And this is where I'm being maybe going a step far, but, like, I wouldn't even let him go to Pasadena. Like, you're either with us or you're not. Like, it ticked me off when Bosa showed up that year in Washington.
Bosa, dude.
When they're killing you on the board. I'll never forget that. when that certain chat board told me I wasn't allowed to have an opinion on Bosa because they might get mad at me on the message boards. I'm like, I've made a career of people not liking me. You think I care what they say on your stupid fanboy little message board? My God, you're 40 or 50 years old and worrying about what people on a chat board think. But anyways, new year, new me. I'm still salty to this day about that was actually his take on that. But anyways, at the end of the day, it was one of those where Nick Bosa had a huge problem with when he got hurt that year, decided to just completely unenroll altogether. And people that had a problem with it, but don't have a problem with players opting out of bowl games. I'm like, they basically did the same thing. He just did it months earlier.
Right.
And the reasoning, the reason was fine. It doesn't mean that, just because you have a justifiable reason doesn't always mean it's a reason that everyone's going to be happy about. So Nick Bosa went to live with Joey at the time that the Chargers were still in San Diego. So he was living in San Diego with his brother. So he completely unenrolled. He was no longer a part of the team. He said that their training facilities, didn't say it exactly like this, but that they weren't good enough for him to be able to prepare for the NFL. And then all of a sudden, they're en route to Pasadena. They're en route to the Rose Bowl. And guess who's on the sideline at the Rose Bowl? So you get to go to the Rose Bowl. You get to be on the sideline. You get to be there, front and center, all eyes on you after you, I won't say quit because that offends some people, but after you gave up on your team a little bit earlier in the year. I had a problem with that, and I have a huge problem with Chris Olave being there too. You either are with them or you're not. But at least he practiced with them, I guess. There's that at least. But why practice? Like, I don't get that. You got hurt in practice? I just don't get. I don't want to make a big deal out of something that's not a big deal, but I just the mindset of people. I can't put myself in their space, and I think that's where all this miscommunication comes from with how media gives their takes on this. I can't put myself in their space, so I can't relate. But they also can't put themselves in my space to understand where they're coming from. The optics look weird. I'm sure if I knew all the details, it wouldn't be weird to me. But because we don't, I find it very strange, and I'm not a fan of that.
When we don't have the full details, we're left to speculate. And the situation is, I don't think these guys, athletes, have been fans for a long time. I don't think NBA players outside of like the guys that went to college.
How do you think they watch the game? I'm interrupting you, but it's contributing to what you're saying. I've always wondered, like I've always said, at the end of the day, we're all fans. I don't think you could be passionate about what you do. Like I'm a fan of sports radio, but I know damn well I don't listen to sports talk the way a regular listener does. Right. Because I know when a host is trying to get, I know what hosts are doing. Like, by the way, if you think that we're just cracking the mic talking, there is a way we present things and set things up. And there's no such thing as a host that doesn't. And if there is, they're not doing it correctly then. Everything is done purposely to get a reaction one way or another. And so when I listen to sports talk, I could tell when they're trying to get something, and some of our listeners are smart too. That's why they say, oh, you're just saying that to get attention and this and that. I'm like, no, I'm really that dumb. So I'm assuming it's that to where I don't really enjoy sports radio because I'm just nitpicking it the whole time, or I'm enamored by how a host is doing it and they do it differently. So I wonder if athletes are like that too, where I'm watching the game. I'm not watching it as a fan, but they're noticing things like when Keith Byers watches Ohio State, he's watching it in a million times different way than I'm watching Ohio State.
Yeah. Like Keith Byers, he's a fan of Ohio State because obviously he was a star there, but
I killed him on the boards too because he had the same opinion as me, by the way.
Probably killed Keith Byers on the board. Wonder how that worked out for him. But I don't think athletes watch the game as a fan, and I don't think these guys have been fans in a long time. Like they're fans of the game, like play the game, or like I was saying with the NBA guys that went to college, like they're fans of their college. Just like the NFL guys, like they're fans of the place where they went to school. But like, I don't think they're fans like we are. Like we live and die by what happens on Saturdays, on Sundays, and what happens with our teams that we root for in the NBA. Like they gotta win. We gotta win. This is gonna make or break my day. This is gonna make or break my weekend. Man, I traveled all the way up to Columbus for this night game, man. We gotta win. But I don't think they view it that way, especially when they're in the middle of it, when, their goal is higher. Their goal is the next level, the pro level. While they're in it. But once they're done, they're on to the next. So I don't think like they're as emotionally invested as us as the fans. I think we as fans were more emotionally invested. Them, obviously, they're physically invested. They're trying to go out there. They're trying to win a natty. They're trying to do everything they can to do it. But once hey, man, we tried. We're not in it. It's time to get ready for the next step. I'm a root for y'all because I'm Buckeye, rah, 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 rah. But good luck from this side. I think that's like the disconnect. And we, as fans, we've never been put in a position to say, hey, man, you sign with this agent. We're going to give you X amount of dollars right here, right now. We've never been faced with those type of decisions to say, like, well, hey, man, I really want to play. Like, I'm reading Carmelo Anthony's book right now. And there's a passage in there where he's talking about winning the national championship at Syracuse. And Jim Boeheim, you know, they still had exit interview meetings and everything like that. This guy. And he's talking to Coach Boeheim, and Coach Boeheim basically says, I don't even know why we're doing this. You ain't coming back. And it's like, well, how do you know? It's like, because you're going to be a top 5 pick. What's the point? And when coaches view it the same way as players, I think that's how you can go further, where they all know what they're here for. Like, you're here so you can showcase your talent. I'm here to coach you up. I'm here to get you here so we can win games and win national championships. And once that goal is accomplished, the goal is accomplished. Or once the goal is not there, then it is what it is. It's moving on to the next. I think for those athletes, now I think it's a different argument to be made for the younger guys, like the whole, excuse me, transfer situation. I think like that's a whole new animal that coaches are dealing with that they don't have a grasp on. I think they have a pretty firm grasp on the situation where guys opting out of bowl games. I think coaches can understand, and I think they can navigate that. I think the transfer portal is a totally different beast and a totally different animal for the coaches.
518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. The other thing too, when people say, well, things have changed because the money's bigger all of a sudden. But like right now, we live in a time where we think this money's big, but 20 years from now, this money might not be nothing compared to what's
it's all relative. Yeah, you're right.
So 20 years ago, the same money was available to maybe not the amount, but the same large amounts of money in retrospect to that time period were available. And we didn't have the transfer portal. I mean, I hear people say the transfer portal wasn't around back then. The transfer portal has always been here. They just gave it a cute little name. You've always been able to transfer out. They've just given a name to a little database now that you could put all your information in. But like, you've always been able to transfer out. There's the difference was before you had to sit out a year. And that's really where the big debate was, and it's slowly changed. There's never going to be a time where you just go, there should be no sitting out period, and then tomorrow no one has to sit out. It took time took the NCAA granting waivers for select and not making sense, and then now all of a sudden it's just everyone's doing it. But back then, playing in meaningless bowl games based on a chance to go make money, you were always going to go make more money in the NFL than you were in college. That was always going to be more money than anything you were going to get as a side deal from some local pizza shop, as far as that goes. But like to act like that this money is why they're sitting out of bowl games. And back then that money wasn't good enough to sit out of bowl games. Back then, whatever the money deal was, that was always going to be way more than any money that they've seen before. So I have a hard time believing that because we're talking about the mass amounts of money now, that's what's swaying them. I think that the money, the market back then was still considered high for back then, and like I said, right now we're saying, because of this total. Well, 20 years from now, we're going to laugh and say, I can't believe that $2 million is what swayed them to go to that school. That's chump change. Now, $2 million might just be the base to go to a smaller school. To go to Purdue, you might get, 20 years from now, $2 million is what you'll get to go play at Purdue probably. And it's not even going to be a lot of money. I'm being a smart ass a little bit, but you see my point. I don't know.
I also think that there's a perceived coolness to opting out of the bowl game. I'm going to opt out the bowl game, get ready for the NFL.
It's kind of like with the offers.
Yeah.
Like now people think it's cool to, hey, I'm blessed to receive an offer from blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't care if you got an offer from there. Are you taking it or not? Like these kids. And by the way, they're doing nothing wrong, but it's so weird. It's so egocentric. Like, oh, I'm blessed to, and it's always like a template that they've just copy and pasted. And then they go find a picture of a current
Watch out. You're holding the cane there, old man.
But it's so annoying. It really is. It's just like, oh, I'm blessed to receive an offer. I don't care if you're blessed to receive an offer. I want to hear I'm disgusted that I got this offer from this school. But no, I can't stand that. This stuff annoys me, and that is get off my lawn. I know that sounds like it. They're doing nothing wrong, but it still annoys me. It's so look at me, and I work in a look at me business.
They're kids, man. They're teenagers. They're young adults, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And imagine in 10, 15 years how it's going to be.
Yep. I mean, they put out announcements for their announcement.
Top 7.
Man, I'm blessed to have an opportunity to announce where I'm going to go 2 months from now. What? Just talk to me 2 months from now. Why do you got to tell me? What the hell? But
you know why they do that?
Because they can.
Because the boards, and they get tons of.
They're killing you on the boards.
They get the interaction. They get the tweets. They get the retweets. They get the likes. They get the heart emojis. They get everybody in the comments. Come to my school. No, don't go there. Come here. Come here. No, don't go there. Come here. Like, they love it. They love it because they're getting exactly what they want, attention. And we, as consumers of the product, give it to them.
But see, that's why I get into it. Don't talk bad about kids. Don't talk bad about the college athlete. If you could say good things about it, you could say bad things about it. You can't just have rules of you could only say nice things about me because I'm 18. And then, of course, when you're Kev Nash, 21, 22. What's the age that you're allowed to start criticizing people? I'm just curious. What's the adult line?
25. 25 when you can rent a car.
Holy hell. All right.
When you can rent a car.
I mean, buy a car. You don't have to rent a car.
You know, that's crazy that you can go buy a car before you can rent a car.
I'm pretty sure you'll be able to buy weed at 18. Legal.
Yeah,
now
in Las Vegas.
Anyways. What time is it? 5:21 here in the Miami Valley. Hey, by the way, so if you think if you're an athlete and your teammate says, I'm going to opt out of this bowl game, I'm sure that would be pretty frustrating, you would think. But you know what? You want to know what I would find even more frustrating? A player that's being given permission to play, but doesn't get to play home games. Only gets to play on the road. Doesn't have to practice all the time. This Kyrie Irving situation, I don't know how we should feel about it. And I think if it was any other player, we wouldn't have a problem with it. Maybe, would we? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Kyrie Irving is going to make his debut. What, tonight?
Today's when? Yeah, tonight, Indiana. Yep.
It's kind of interesting. We'll talk about it. Kyrie Irving, given a special allowance, if you will. He's going to get to practice sometimes, not practice other times. He's going to get to play some home game, or he's going to get to play only games on the road, right, Kev? Like he can't play at home.
Nope, no home games and no games at Madison Square.
So you only get Kyrie Irving on the road. That's it. You don't get him at home. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in sports. We'll discuss next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy and very windy, a high near 40. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy and windy, a low around 16. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy and cold, a high around 24. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Research shows that people remember radio ads with lots of sound effects. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here are some zany sounds. Saving on home insurance is no laughing matter. Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. The money you save could change your life. It's time for you to take your insurance choice seriously. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. O'Reilly.
Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car. Like 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil, just $31.95. Plus, get a $10 O'Reilly gift card with your purchase. Extend the life of your vehicle and improve performance with a synthetic oil change. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint with their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, and so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
I need to be able to work from anywhere, so I need to have supplies, well, everywhere.
It's possible at Staples.
I need the same setup for my home as I have at the office, without twice the cost.
Also possible, because your local Staples store has the tools your business needs to get work done. Now get 40% back in a Staples store bonus when you buy any 2 ink or toner cartridges. Explore what's new at Staples, the working and learning store. Ends 1/15, limit 2 in-store only. See staplesconnect.com/store bonus for details.
Are you tired of living with chronic pain, knee pain, joint pain? Listen carefully, because now there are new treatments available here. Not talking steroids or surgery. These are regenerative treatments from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Hi, this is Keith Byers. QC Kinetics is the leader in these exciting biologic therapies that help restore and repair damaged tissue in your joints with lasting results. If you got pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back, joint pain that won't go away, you need to check out these new treatments with astonishing patient satisfaction reports. They can actually help your body restore and repair itself with no downtime, no drugs, no surgery. Don't go through another year with that awful joint pain, and don't let them put you under the knife. You need to learn more about how biologic therapies are changing the way we think about dealing with joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 937-936-0325. That number again is 937-936-0325.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
What's all the buzz about nasal irrigation and Navage? And should I try it? Here's the science. Airborne germs invade through your nose. It's the body's air filter for trapping allergens and viruses. When your nose gets clogged, it's less effective and germs multiply. Eventually, your immune system can get overwhelmed and you get sick. Nasal irrigation is an effective, all-natural way to clean your nose. It's not a drug. It's more like plumbing. Saline goes in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and germs. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage to make cleaning your nose easy. It's the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls out the bad stuff so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier. At Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Or go to Navage.com for a free gift with purchase. Over 2 million sold. Navage, Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
It's better breakfast o'clock at Wendy's. Get hot and buttery breakfast biscuits made with bacon or sausage, egg, and cheese. So don't risk it. Get a Wendy's biscuit sandwich. Limited time only at participating Wendy's.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Brooklyn Nets guard Kyrie Irving will make his season debut tonight against the Indiana Pacers, but Nets coach Steve Nash didn't reveal whether Irving would start or come off the bench. No matter what Nash decides to do, he is confident that Irving will play a big chunk of the game. Irving, of course, according to the article from ESPN, not vaccinated for COVID-19, will be making his debut after the Nets reversed course last month and decided to allow him to rejoin the team as a part-time player. It's like WWE. You know how you always get The Undertaker or The Rock or Brock Lesnar to only come back for WrestleMania? That's kind of like Kyrie Irving. You just part-time. You just come back whenever you feel like. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure what to make of this. This infringes on a lot. This has set up a lot of very weird conversations to have. I'm not going to say that Kyrie Irving should be forced to go get the vaccine, but the NBA has changed its stance on quite a few things. That you either get the vaccine or you don't play. It's that simple. We're not forcing you to. I hate when people say that. But but you crybabies out there, they're forcing us to get it. No one's forcing you to get anything. They're just telling you to work here. You got to do this. It's no different than any other mandate. They're not mandate, but it's no different than any other requirements that jobs make you fulfill to be able to work there. Like, hey, we don't want you on drugs. And if you do drugs, you can't work here. Where are people screaming about their rights to do drugs? And maybe you complain that you can't do drugs and work at a certain company, but you know what you don't do? You don't work at that company. I don't want to get into this, vaccination debate again because I'm tired of hearing the same old boring, lame, non-educated, excuses of it. I don't care if you don't want to get vaccinated. That's your own thing, but you can't sit there and say that the NBA is wrong for requiring this. And here's where the NBA is wrong, though. The NBA is wrong in this part because, now it's just like what we get mad at with the NCAA, where it just does this whole, we're just going to leave it up to each individual conference to come up with its own thing. Kyrie Irving's caught in the crosshairs of there's how many 30 NBA teams, and of these cities, everyone has a different policy, everyone has different rules, and of course Kyrie is playing on a team and in a city that if you're not vaccinated, you can't play. So Kyrie Irving's going to come back as a part-time player. He can't practice at home and he cannot play at home. But when the Nets are on the road, he could practice on the road and he could play on the road. This is the strangest scenario ever. For one, the rules allowing that to happen are strange, but I find it even more strange that the Nets are okay with this. If you think that this helps the Nets, it doesn't. What happens if you have a 3-game road stretch and you go 3-0 and you're kicking ass and playing well because you have Kyrie Irving, and you got a 4-game home stretch? You come back and you go 2-2 and you lose that momentum, you lose that rhythm. This isn't about a right or wrong and about what you think about vaccination. This is just about team rhythm stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just like we talk about all the time. You shouldn't be able to come and you can't decide when you don't want to practice. You can't pick and choose which games you want to play and not play. But that's exactly what's going on here. Kyrie Irving, by the way, good for him for not, I guess, crumbling to the pressure and being guilted into getting the vaccine. I know a lot of people that are just getting the vaccine to keep their job. They're just getting the vaccine because they don't want to be judged. They're just getting, they may not be doing the vaccine to protect themselves. They're doing the vaccine because a lot of pressure around them is getting them to do it. Kyrie Irving, the one thing I'll give him credit for, he's an odd dude, but he's sticking to his guns. He's not backing down. He's not crumbling to the pressure and the perception. You know what I mean? We don't have to agree with him, but at the end of the day, the dude's not crumbling. And if anything, the Nets crumbled. The Nets caved. The Nets are putting themselves in a position to ruin the team chemistry even more, but the Nets are desperate. They put this team together 2 years ago. This is year 3? Mm-hmm. If you would have told me 2 years ago that you would have had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on a team and then add James Harden into the mix, and you may not even get a finals appearance, much less an NBA championship, yeah, they know that this is probably the last go-round for this team unless they can make it to the finals to show that it's worth bringing everyone back again next year. This is do or die. This is championship.
James Harden's a free agent.
Yeah, this is do or die for the Nets. That's why they're doing this. It's desperation, and desperation rarely works, if ever.
This really doesn't have anything to do with it has everything to do with Kyrie, but it doesn't. This is being done because of Kevin Durant. This is being done because of Kevin Durant's usage is through the moon. This is Kevin Durant almost at Texas. As much minutes as he's playing 38 minutes a game. His usage is through the roof because James Harden was dealing with COVID. James Harden was out of shape allegedly. And now they're like, look, man, we need to dial his minutes back. We need to dial him back because, yeah, he's still a great basketball player, but, he still is coming off that Achilles injury. And we talked about this yesterday. We as fans think oh, man, you get back on the court, you get back on the field of play after your injury, you're good to go. No, this is still a injury that still needs to be maintained. Think about it like this. Achilles injury ended Isaiah Thomas's career. It ended Kobe Bryant's career effectively. It ended so many other players' careers. Like, so they want to make sure we get everything we can out of Kevin Durant. So if we need to dial back his minutes, we need to go on some, load. Yeah. We need to go load management with KD because let's be clear, KD is the best player on the team, hands down. So in crunch time, when they really need him, a la the playoffs, they need to have Kevin Durant available, and you can't get to the playoffs without playing the regular season. So they kind of like need somebody else in that spot because the uncertainty of James Harden in and out the lineup and everything like that. They need another additional scorer and everything like that. So this is being done because of that. And you talk about the Nets caving. You're right. At the beginning of the season, we can't have part-time players. And then just like everything else out there, we're adjusting to the situation. They're like, whoa, maybe we will need a part-time player. So Kyrie can't play home games. Kyrie can't play against the Knicks in his own city, can play road games. The crazy thing about it is it's not even different rules from state to state. It's different rules from county to county. Like he'll be Kyrie Irving can go play a road game against the Warriors, but a non-vaccinated player on the Warriors can't play for the Warriors. Like it is so mismatched. It's crazy. I'm not even sure if Kyrie Irving can play against the Raptors because it's in.
I don't even know if the Raptors could play anybody in Toronto. I mean, they might be. I don't know what's going on there. They just put all their mandates back in place.
That's what I saw. So I'm just curious. Like, so what does that mean for teams that are coming to play the Raptors? Can they come into the country or not? Because you remember last year, Toronto Raptors played in Tampa because they said, nah, nobody's coming into the country. Like, so this is a cluster. And the truth be told, people want to win championships. They want return on their investment. They want to make their money, and they're just trying to do what they think is right. And I have no idea what's going to happen with this. This is completely crazy, man. I can't say that they're wrong. I can't say that they're wrong for folding because they invested a lot of money in this situation. Well, I guess I can Google this. Was Kyrie getting paid during this time? He couldn't have been getting paid, right?
That part I do not know.
He couldn't have been getting paid. I saw this story with Ben Simmons. He's been fined over $10 million.
I don't think he was getting paid. Yeah, I don't think he was getting paid.
Because
I think that was the big story because they said he'll crumble because eventually he'll need those paychecks and blah, blah, blah. I don't think you realize how much money these dudes make. That although it sucks that you're losing money,
they don't realize how Kyrie Irving lives his life.
As long as you're not Antoine Walker, you're fine.
Like Kyrie Irving is, what's the term, a minimalist? Like he's like one of those type of people that don't buy things that they don't need.
I'm a minimalist too, but not by choice. Our pay scale dictates that for me. I'm just saying. By the way, keep in mind, Brooklyn's 23-12. They're the 2 seed in the East right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this goes,
shouts out to the Bulls.
What this screams, Kev, is regular season don't matter. Like they're looking at it like, well, damn, we're the 2 seed. We don't even have Kyrie Irving. We'll most likely be the 2-1. They're going to be in the top 4. As long as they're a top 4 seed, that's all they care about.
Right.
So you're right. They're not bringing Kyrie back to pair with Kevin Durant and James Harden. They're bringing Kyrie back so they can give Kevin Durant some rest, give James Harden some rest. They still want to go. They don't want the triplets. They want the duos, but they want to make sure that one of each duo is being
right.
rested. And that's what this comes down to. And then go full bore come playoff time when that time comes. But that's also what's unfortunate. You get if you're the higher seed, you get 4 home games if it's a 7-game series. But you'd have to think that it's, you're going to be probably going 7 more times than not. I just don't get how you get any kind of rhythm.
Think about the playoffs. If they're the 4 seed going against the 5 seed, let's just say, for instance, the 4 seed, they're the 4 seed and Milwaukee's the 5 seed. Game 7 is in Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving can't play in Game 7.
Yeah. And by the way, with the way things are going, things can get real dicey in LA. So let's say the Lakers get to the finals.
They changed up their rules.
And people are like, Lakers aren't getting to the finals. You see how they look in the regular season? The Lakers are on a regular season team. You know who's a regular season team? Phoenix. I know Phoenix got to the finals last year and all that stuff. And again, I know I'm doing the Cleveland Browns thing here, but look, Anthony Davis goes down in round 1.
He always go down.
Yeah, that's just it. Just chalk him up as being down. Even when he's up, count him on being down. But holy smokes. The point is, anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is Phoenix is built as a regular season team. When they get to the playoffs, if Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Westbrook are all together, they're winning. I don't even know if they're winning the championship, but they're at least getting to the Western Conference Finals, and it's not going to surprise me to see them get to the finals. So the point is there's a good chance you could have Brooklyn and LA in the finals, which will be very interesting. And then Kyrie can't play anywhere because I can see LA going back on that huge lock. I mean, how it hasn't happened yet is beyond me.
LeBron getting on the phone with the mayor, like, hey,
like, and that's
what about those vax mandates?
Someone in the comment section said, the new governor of New York will crumble and lift it. Kyrie will eventually liberate the whole state. I don't know about that. For one, they ain't crumbled before. I know it's a new mayor, but look, the bottom line is New York has bigger issues on their hands than
right.
Brooklyn.
He's
That's
definitely
basketball.
Definitely bigger issues, especially that press conference he just had talking about non-skillful workers. Goodness gracious.
So, and here's the one. So Ron goes, Dan Patrick. I didn't hear Dan Patrick today, but this is called thinking smarter, not harder. Most teams are out there trying to win. Brooklyn's like, we're going to lose just enough to be a bottom 4 seed, so we get more road games. I like that. That's strategy. So Ron Broadstock, thank you for saying. Yeah, Ron said Dan Patrick said they will start throwing games so they could be a lesser seed and have more road games.
Don't put it past them, man. This is the NBA, man. We've seen crazier things happen. We see this happen at the back end of every regular season. We saw this last year where the Clippers wanted to play the Mavericks and everything like that, and Luka almost took it from them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we see this happen all the time. Wouldn't put it past them. We don't see this in the NFL because there's a fine night of games, but in the NBA, you can work your little magic and make it happen.
All right, 518-1410, 518-1410. It's the number to call. We'll be back in a moment.
The Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
At the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, we help veterans and their dependents navigate the process of applying for benefits administered by the VA. We can assist with VA claims, pensions, and a variety of benefits, including emergency financial assistance, transportation, and legal services. If you are a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, a wide range of services may be available to you, always at no cost to the veteran. We are honored and proud to serve all Miami Valley veterans. Contact us today at 937-225-4801.
Sick of waiting for your furniture to arrive? Menards has the furniture you need in stock. Plus, you get a free rug. That's right. Buy any upholstered living room furniture at $299 or more and get a free 5x7 area rug. That's $149.99 in savings. Need a new chair? How about a sectional, a new recliner, or love seat? Buy one today, get a free rug. Hurry up. Get to Menards before they're gone. In-store only while supplies last.
Save big money at Menards. Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband. He lost weight. More important, cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend went and she lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months. So does Mark Patrick hypnosis work? Oh yeah, it works. Nothing has changed my life more. Well, except maybe my husband. He's so proud of me. Makes me cry.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed for only $49.99. Seminars Thursday, January 13th at the Holiday Inn in Fairborn. Weight loss 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking 8 to 10 p.m. And Saturday, January 15th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Dayton. Weight loss 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and stop smoking 2 to 4. Registration begins 30 minutes before seminar.
Exergen would like you to know about an important new study by the FDA. It confirms what the medical community has always known. Non-contact thermometers are not accurate, and they fail to meet FDA requirements for accuracy in labeling. With new strains of COVID on the rise, we can't afford to tolerate rampant false temperature readings from non-contact thermometers. Accurate temperature measurements are essential. You need Exergen thermometers because they are accurate and backed by over 100 clinical studies. Be sure, be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Hi, Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
What are your 2022 business goals? Simplified IT? More security? Dell Technologies has the expertise to help you. From transforming your digital workspaces to providing comprehensive end-to-end IT solutions. Get high-performance computers featuring Windows 11 Pro with powerful hardware-based security and savings up to 45% during Dell's New Year event sale. Get special financing through Dell Financial Services. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Fed up with companies selling your data? DuckDuckGo is on it. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here in 1410 ESPN Radio. Joe Mixon tests positive. He's out in the Bengals' regular season finale against the Cleveland Browns this coming up Sunday. It was also announced that Joe Burrow will not play this Sunday as well. Of course, on the Cleveland Browns side, we already know that Baker Mayfield's season is done. He's preparing for what is, I guess you can consider season-ending shoulder surgery, surgery that should have been done a long time ago. But according to ESPN's Bengals beat writer Ben Baby, Bengals running back Joe Mixon tested positive for COVID-19 and will not play in Sunday's game against the Cleveland Browns. The Bengals will also be without starting quarterback Joe Burrow, who will sit out to rest his sore right knee. Stop with the sore right knee stuff. Sore right knee, sore pinky. Oh, my voice. I got to rest my voice again. Why so dramatic? Just say it's a pointless game. You have the division wrapped up and you're just resting for the playoffs. I just don't like being lied to, man. Like nobody does. That's why COVID irritates me. The BS reasons. Like I went through a drive-thru the other day to order a bacon, egg, and cheese bagel.
Sounds good.
And the lady in the drive-thru, oh, I'm sorry. We don't have bagels because of COVID. Like, just say you don't have bagels. You don't have bagels because of COVID. Oh, I can't wait for this COVID
slow
thing
delivery.
To go back to have bagels. Like, stop. Like, that's people's excuse. Like, I do believe at first COVID's why everything went so backed up on inventory and everything. But I also just feel like that's everyone's excuse. That's why you have bad customer service all around now, is because now it's just easy to use. Oh, COVID. Oh, sorry, COVID. Look, I know COVID's real. I know COVID's impacting businesses, but bagels, I can't have a damn breakfast bagel because of COVID. Unemployment, schools closing, at-home classes, working from home, coming into work, all these having to wear a mask, having to do this, all the bad things in life because of COVID, and I'm bitching about bagels. I don't even know what the point of this conversation was, to be quite honest with you. But being lied to, yeah. For Ohio State, for instance. Oh, we're not going to have, no concessions at Ohio State athletics home games because of COVID. What? You're going to put 15, 20,000 fans in a huge arena petri dish and say that that's safe. But, oh, man, where we draw the line is nachos and pretzels. Like, that's where it becomes dangerous. Stop. Like, it's cosmetic theater. That's all it is. Like I said, I went to Taco Bell. I don't think they do it anymore, but at the peak of this, it's contactless handoff. So I watched the drive-thru worker. She grabs my food, which I don't care about. She grabs my bag of food, puts it in the basket, then hands me the basket to grab my food out of, and I'm safe now? What the hell? That doesn't make any sense. You already touched my food, unless the food's going to magically float from the counter, unless the meat's going to float into the tortilla that just appeared out of nowhere without anyone touching it, unless the lettuce and the cheese and the sauce and the tomatoes and sour cream, even though I tell them no sour cream, they still put sour cream on it anyways, unless all of that just floated on there without anybody touching it, wrapped itself, put itself in the bag, and the bag floated to the basket, and the basket floated to me. How is that contactless handoff? Stop with the lies. Stop with the cosmetic theater. Like, stop. And Cincinnati and Joe Burrow stops. Oh, you're resting that right knee. Give me a break. If
he is resting that right knee because he didn't go into the game to take that snap.
If they don't beat Kansas City and the Browns beat Pittsburgh, is that right knee being rested this Sunday? No, it's not. So just say the division's wrapped up and we're resting for the playoffs. That's totally fine. Not one person would judge him for that. Not even me. Don't lie to me.
Even you?
It's not even me. Stop lying to me. Oh, to rest his right knee. No, you're just resting because there's no need to play against Cleveland. It's as simple as that. Anyways, I didn't mean to turn it into that. But the bottom line is they have been bit by the Bengals have been bit by the COVID bug. Von Bell, 4 starters will be out because of COVID on the COVID-19 list, on the reserve list. Safety Von Bell, defensive end Trey Hendrickson, Quentin Spain, and Trey Hopkins were all put on the list earlier this week.
Who missed last week's game because of COVID? Linebacker, right?
For the Bengals?
Pratt missed last week. Yeah.
So, and look, this isn't a shot at the Bengals, but they've been... Look, every team needs luck. By the way, if you make it through 17 weeks and none of your stars missed any significant games, like, that's luck. And that, like, luck, and see, people take offense to that, like I'm watering down their success. No, the Browns were lucky last year. It was a perfect storm last year. The Bengals were rebuilding, Kev. The Ravens, were in, they remember the Ravens were one of the most, snake bit team when it came to COVID. All right. And then Pittsburgh, after starting 11-0, started to decline. And that's when the Browns faced them back-to-back weeks once in the playoffs. So, and they needed that win against Pittsburgh to clinch their playoff spot to end that drought. So Cleveland was very lucky last year. They were healthy all year. You had Baker, Nick Chubb, the offensive line, Jarvis, and everything. The one significant injury that actually helped them was OBJ because they took off from that point on. So they were fortunate last year. They were not fortunate this year. The Browns were. The Ravens were not fortunate this year. The Steelers were the Steelers. But the Bengals have been very fortunate. They've been the luckiest team in the AFC North health-wise. So, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon missed like a game or two here and there, but overall, Joe Burrow, they've all been fine. Outside of that the voice he had to rest for a bit and that scary pinky accident of Joe Burrow, outside of that, they've been fairly, very fortunate health-wise. And that's why they're sitting here at the top of the AFC North. That's not a shot. That's called reality. Some people can't handle that, and that's okay. But their luck continues because, well, Justin, I think you said they're lucky. They're getting impacted by COVID right now. Yes. How convenient that all of a sudden now the team has a COVID outbreak. Joe Burrow, I thought there was nothing to do in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow just said, hey, we don't get COVID because there's nothing to do in this crap hole of a city. That's basically what he said. So, see, it's a conspiracy theory because basically what has happened, Kev, is now they have been out and about. They were told to go out and find something to do. Get COVID this week. Get COVID this week because we're going to rest all of our starters against the Browns because we have the division wrapped up. Get COVID this week. So the Bengals are lucky because they won't have to be tested again the rest of the damn way. They better hope Joe Burrow gets COVID today or tomorrow so he can rest up for the rest of the week and next week. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make light of COVID, but in all seriousness, we've talked about this before. There's a reason that people thought Michigan last year used COVID as an excuse not to play Ohio State and get their doors beat down. So, yes, Cincinnati, the Bengals, you're very, very lucky. Even when you get COVID, you get lucky. You get it at a very convenient time. You don't have to worry about anything. That's
take advantage. That's what I tell them. I say take advantage. I mean, you see what happened in the Super Bowl. Freaking Tampa Bay took advantage of the bad offensive line situation going on with KC, and nobody said nothing. All they did was celebrate Tom Brady getting another ring. Like, nobody cares, man. Once it's all said and done, ain't nobody gonna care. Nobody's talking about Patrick Mahomes going out there with me and you blocking for him. Like, nobody cared. And like, Tom Brady got into the Super Bowl. He's officially the best ever, and Patrick Mahomes will never catch him now because he lost to him in the Super Bowl. Never mind the fact
2 offensive linemen away from being Tom Brady.
exactly, and never mind the fact that Tom Brady almost cost them the game versus Green Bay in the NFC Championship game by throwing 3 interceptions in the second half. Like, never mind that, but that's what people were talking about. They was like, oh man, they won. Tom Brady did it again, or he didn't have an offensive line at all. But
yeah, well, Joe Burrow showing you don't need a good offensive line to have an MVP-like season.
Joe Burrow showing you don't need an offensive line. Freaking Aaron Rodgers showing that you don't need first-round wide receivers to win games.
But the problem is, there's not a lot of play. Like, it's rare to have a player that can elevate despite circumstances not being ideal. So there's that. Like, the thing is, so if I'm Mike Brown, well, see, look, Joe Burrow. You know, he's been sacked 50 times this year, and he played every damn game except the last one, and that's because, well, he needed to rest that knee. Give me a break. I guarantee you, if it was for the division, he'd be playing this Sunday. He's not resting his knee. He's just rested. He doesn't need to play. Just say that. Be honest. Don't lie to your fans. I know they're silly and weird, but they'll believe anything you say. But then, anyways, it is what it is. New year, new me. But, like, I almost wonder, is the fact that Joe Burrow's having such a great year, that could come back to bite him in the ass. And here's why. What incentive does the front office have to make any moves in the offseason? Significant moves. Oh, well, we'll get we'll get Riley Reef back next year. He'll get healthy. We'll get better by health instead of better by being aggressive. And sure, they'll probably draft guys in the draft, but offensive linemen in the draft, again, they still fail there every single year. I have no faith in them. Jackson Carman has become a bust. I know that everyone's like, not even a bust. Can't be a bust when you weren't projected to be good to begin with. So Jackson Carman, and by the way, people keep saying he's graded well on Pro Football Focus. Then why isn't he starting? Why isn't he playing more? I'll wait. I'm just saying it is what it is. But I do worry that that's going to come back to haunt Joe Burrow. The fact that he played so well. We say that all the time at your job. Think about your job. When your back's against the wall, when you have limited resources because of COVID and you have less help around because of COVID, people are calling off left and right, because of COVID. And then you show your bosses that, hey, even with limited staff and no resources, no money, no help, no part-timers at all, we could still get the job done. Then your boss sits back and is like, well, then what's the hurry to provide these guys with help? They clearly could do it without everybody around them. So I'm in no hurry to provide them and spend money for help. Mike Brown spent $200 million on this defense. He spent a lot of money already. He's like, I've spent enough money on this group. We just won the damn division. Joe Burrow is an MVP candidate, and he has the worst offensive line in football. What motive is there for this team to improve that offensive line? None, Kev. So Joe Burrow, oh, you're so cool. You play well with a bad offensive line. I'm so jealous of that, by the way. Good for him. But, man, you know what I'm saying, though? Like, you do have to wonder about that. Well, the front office, how motivated will they be? I thought Joe Burrow's injury would motivate them to fix the offensive line, and they didn't. So what makes you think
they listened to Joe Burrow before and drafted Jamar Chase? Maybe they'll listen to him if he asks for offensive lineman.
You think there's another Jamar Chase in the draft?
I'm talking about offensive lineman. Maybe he say, hey, how about we get offensive lineman X, Y, Z? And they say, okay, Joe, we'll do that too.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Ron Broadside said Burrow should definitely go to a concession stand this week. Yeah.
But you got to hurry up, man. It takes 3 days for it to get in your system. So you need to get it like tonight.
I know. But in all seriousness, Joe Mixon, Quentin Spain, all these players that are out because of COVID, and I joked about this a few weeks ago. I said with the Browns, not joke, but in all seriousness, the Browns, I was like, their whole team had COVID. Super. Rest up, get back. You make the playoffs, you're not going to be tested the rest of the way. You're going to have that advantage over the teams that haven't had it. I kept saying the Bengals, it'll catch up with them. But nope, wrong again, because sure enough, they get COVID, and it's on a freaking bye week, basically. Typical. Man, what a bad year for Kenner. 2021 was not the year of Kenner. Scrambled eggs on my face, I tell you. Have a good night, everyone. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Dayton Flyers, VCU tonight, 7 o'clock to tip off. If you're heading to the arena, enjoy your night. Wright State will be in action tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Nutter Center against UIC. The Buckeyes will be in action right here on 1410 ESPN Radio as well. That wraps it up for us today. Until tomorrow, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We'll have Jay Morrison, Bengals beat writer, on tomorrow. Brent Sobleski with Bleacher Report.
Hey,
he's another Bengal hater. Him and I meet in our weekly group, so we have meetings. But he'll join us tomorrow. Have a
you
great
say
night.
This, I'll say this, and then good.
We have some good stuff lined up for you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
Remember how 15 years ago I